Two. I don't know how this is going to come out. This is my first live on all platforms. I'm usually live on the Wisdom app. And the Wisdom app is awesome. So let me get started. This is the first time I'm going live on all platforms. People can see me on YouTube, Facebook, which is my Facebook profile, and my Facebook page, which is Abundant Life Hacker. I'm John Busy, and on LinkedIn as well. I'm using this new software called Restream, and it was recommended to me, and it's pretty good so far. We'll see, because this is the first time I'm actually using a mic, which is I use a Snowball. And on my other platforms, people don't know that I go live all the time on other platforms. It's a platform called Wisdom, and I'm on here right now. It's a Friday night. A lot of time I do my live stream out of when I'm in my big rig driving down the road, and I guess I'm just going to get started because what you see on the screen is basically create your own miracles with abundant life hacking. And a lot of people don't understand what abundant life hacking is. But just to sum it up really quickly, abundant life hacking is basically doing life hacks, which is something within itself. But the way I'm going to define it is hacking into abundance, doing things that are going to cause positive abundance to flow into your life, like it has for me. And it has for quite a while. But now, as of late, I've really discovered some techniques that actually really work and are doing some amazing things in my life. So, again, since I'm on all my platforms, there's some people who may be tuning in that know me and some people who don't. So, what I'm doing right now, why I sound a little bit distracted, is because I'm on my phone right now, and I have to actually from the Wisdom app, I have to manually share when I go live because there's no way to share. There's no way to share when I'm like, for example, when you go to Restream, it automatically, I think it shares everything, but on the Wisdom app, it doesn't do that. You have to literally go out and share it yourself. And then also, if any guests pop on here, I'm going to have to kind of hold the phone to the microphone so they can be heard on the other platforms. Because I might get a guest on any platform, which will be great. But if they come on Wisdom and want to talk, then I got to actually hold the phone. But this is the first test I'm doing. It's a test, but I mean, I'm really going to get into it in 1 second. If you give me a second, I guess I really can't see because I'm not so great with this app yet to understand who is actually tuning in. I don't know if I can see that or not. I don't know how to actually work this the best way. But I will get into it, and I know that on my wisdom side, there is people piling into the chat room right now because you always get a good audience on wisdom. Okay, now I see. Now I see how you actually see your audience. Okay, I see. Gotcha. All right. So far it's just wisdom. So anybody tuning in, it'll be great to see you. And give me some questions or whatever. So let me continue to go on my platforms real quick and share this link from my live stream. Even though I'm actually streaming live on other platforms, which is crazy, but I'm still able to do this. If you'll bear with me for 1 second, I'm actually going to. Oh, here it goes. Okay, this link on LinkedIn. Post it on LinkedIn. I'm not going to post it in the group just yet. But anyway, as I was saying, my name is John Lee. I'm the John and John Busy, and I am an abundant life hacker. And I abundant life hack through and using the law of attraction. And the law of attraction is just the law, just like the law of gravity. And that's not even really the secret as far as abundant life hacking or producing abundance in your life. That's not even the secret as far as things go. the real secret is actually that you create your own reality. And I can go many ways into that to explain that. And then, future talks, I'll do that. But for right now, I'm just going to kind of go into different aspects of everything and kind of speak from my own experience because that's the only experience I can speak from. I know there's been a lot of books written about the subject of law of attraction and about deliberate creation and so on. There's been a lot of books about that, and those, I've studied a lot of those books, and I've studied some of the masters like Napoleon Hill and Abraham Hicks and Neville Goddard and a few other people that have reasonable, I guess, prominence or whatever. They're known. So I've read many books throughout the years. But my story basically starts a long time ago, way back. I just turned 53, by the way. So my story starts way back, uh, 30 years ago, nearly 25 to 30 years ago. Between 25 and 30 years, I was given the book called Think and Grow Rich by a good friend of mine who was very successful and is still to this day very successful. And when he gave me this book, I didn't know, what to expect. I just, read it. It was an audio book. I listened to it, and it basically said, what you think about is basically what you become, or what you think about is what becomes dominant in your life. And that said, I learned a lot of lessons from that. And when I learned those lessons, it gave a lot of suggestions on what to do. It gave suggestions on if you want to change your life and do this and make that happen in your life, uh, you do this technique, you do that technique. But it all revolved around thought and thinking. That's why the book was called Think and Grow Rich. And that's interesting because in my latest experiments and coming up to this 30 years later or throughout the 30 years, I did discover that it actually is what you think about. Like when you think about stuff, it actually becomes prominent in your life. Like you actually create what happens. So a lot of people, which is what I always get from people, is that they say there's no way that I created this or that in my life. Like they'll say, this bad thing that has happened to me, there's no way that I did that to myself. And it's a heck of an argument at times, to kind of backtrack that and say yes you did, because there's so many different angles that you can go once somebody says that. When somebody says, well, I didn't create this, I didn't create that, it can go so many different ways as far as disputing that fact. But let me put, I guess a little bit of a disclaimer right in the beginning, is to say that I'm going off of my own experience. I've experimented with this, as crazy as someone might say it sounds, as ridiculous as someone might say it sounds. I've experimented with it with myself. I'm a logical thinking person. I'm not crazy. Um, I've I'm the sanest person I know. However, I will say I have an open mind when it comes to possibilities of things happening, meaning that a person might say there's only one way that this could possibly happen. There's only one way that we could be here as human beings on the planet, or there's only one way that we can experience reality, or why we experience reality, or whatever you want to say. There's many different ways to say that. However, I believe that, and again, through experience, I've come to believe that when they say anything is possible, absolutely anything is possible. And I might not have said that many years ago, because when I started understanding the power of thought and what thought can be and what thought can become, and that thought is energy, and that you can imagine anything, and the power of your imagination. When I started discovering these kind of things, then I started saying, okay, there's no way that was a coincidence. And I've had things that happened to me recently that I said, there's no way that's a coincidence. And when I've been, like I said, I've been producing positive abundance for years, but as of late, it's expanding more and more and more. And as I got more excited about it, I started coming up with, because I'm a digital marketer. I like creating ebooks and videos and stuff like that. I like doing that kind of stuff. I love doing that kind of stuff. This kind of stuff I'm doing right now, I love doing this. So I thought, I'm doing LinkedIn lead generation. I was doing that for a bit, and then I said, I'm making money doing this. This is cool. And I'm also, I drive a big rig as well, so I'm making money doing this. Is cool, but let me make something that follows this. That follows this. How can I say it? This narrative or state of mind, because I really love it, and I love what's being produced. I love what I'm producing in my life, and I'm seeing that it's coming deliberately, and I'm really loving it. So I said, you know what? Let me build a brand around this, because this is great. This is great. This is something that I love, and this is something that I know can help a lot of people, because teaching people how to produce abundance themselves by doing a few simple things. They're things that you have to do, that you should be doing consistently, but they're not difficult things. It's just like an awakening of a certain consciousness, and then you can start enacting the things that I've discovered along the way. And I also noticed along the way that a lot of the teachers were saying the same thing, meaning that an example, and I'm going to back up a little bit so I don't get too far ahead of myself here for anybody hearing this kind of information for the first time. One of the things was like Napoleon Hill. Well, the first example is, he says, you become what you think about, or think and grow rich. Correct. So, and he talks about the power of thought. And then another teacher, Abraham Hicks, says that thoughts is just energy. Okay, and then there's also a book that I study called The Kabbalion, which is ancient Egyptian spirituality. And that, in a nutshell, is where a lot of those famous teachers that I just discussed came from. I saw you on there, guest. There was a guy on there a second ago wanted to come on to Wisdom. I was going to bring you on. If you come back, I'll bring you on. Just give me a second. I want to kind of close a point first, and then you're welcome to come back. So when you want to come back, I'll bring you on. Maybe you got busy for a second. That's how Wisdom works, y'all. If you ever have gone on the Wisdom app, it's people can chime in and raise their hand. And I guess on these other platforms, people can put in chats and so on. Anyway, from what I was saying before, is that a lot of the teachers, when it comes to law of attraction or deliberate creation or what have you, a lot of the teachers were saying the same thing. That in itself also got me excited to kind of go out and spread the word and say, wait a minute, people just really don't know this. And I noticed that a lot of the ways that the lessons that I'm beginning to teach now, I know it seems like there was a lot of people who were teaching the lessons who were actually just not teaching the whole thing, and they're missing a bunch of things. Not all of them. There's a few that I said, okay, they're really saying what it is, and then you kind of figure it out and read between the lines, and then you start doing things and saying, okay. So I'll just do it like this. The way I'm going to do this today, because like I said, this is my first time going on the other platforms here and seeing how well they go. This is my first time doing that on these other platforms. So what I would like to do is, I guess, give my story, give the reasons why I kind of came to the conclusions that I've come to. And the one thing I've also noticed is that when you talk about conclusions, it's never really a conclusion if you really understand infinity, I guess, or if you really understand the present moment, which never ends, is the everlasting moment. If you really understand that, things are constantly always moving forward. Things are always moving forward, and things really never stop. So the fact that that's the case, the evidence that I see right now that tells me about law of attraction, deliberate creation, and creating your own reality. The evidence that has come to me that I seen, that evidence, I could see something different, which could change my mind. And I would think that maybe that's the case. However, I don't see that happening, but I see an expansion from the I see an expansion from the conclusions, if you will, that I've come to settle on right now. And so here's a bit of the story. Now, like I said, years ago, I got the book Think and Grow Rich. I studied it for a few years. I put things into play. Think and Grow Rich would tell you to write things down and do affirmations. And think about that now. Affirmations are very, very popular online, especially. They tell you to say your affirmations and then the things come true, or say affirmations because you can change your mood, and you change your mood, you'll be happier and so on. Now that stuff is partially true, but there's more to it, because when you say affirmations, if the affirmations are making you feel good, then that's true, and you should feel good. Okay, you should feel good when you're saying affirmations, or I'm not saying you should feel good when you're saying affirmations, but you should be striving to feel good all the time. That's the thing. That's the thing that a lot of people miss. You should be striving to feel good all the time. Now, why should you be striving to feel good all the time? Or why should you be paying attention to trying to feel good and be of good, in good spirits and higher vibration, if you will, all the time? Why? Because that is actually your natural state. That's your natural state of being. My evidence to show that that's your natural state of being is to tell you to take a look at nature. Take a look at how the trees grow, how the flowers bloom, how the 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 rivers and streams run, and so on. Take a look at those things, and when you take a look at those things, you'll notice that these things happen effortlessly, and they happen without a large effort or strain. They seem to just flow and be perfectly. There's no strain or struggle when it comes to the natural flow of nature or any of the laws in the universe. There's none of that. So that being said, consider the fact that you, me, we, us as human beings, we come from that. That's what we come from. That's what we're part of. That's what our natural state of in our bodies, like good health, um, lack of resistance or struggle. That's our natural state of being. So, being that that's the case, that that's our natural state of being, that means that we don't have to have effort, so much effort to feel happy, which we don't. But some people actually are so miserable that they actually have to put great effort into being happy or feeling happy, and that's a key sign right there. That's a red flag, because you got to think about it. We come into the world, think of us as babies. We come into the world and we're at our natural state, which is happiness and abundance, and I wouldn't say ecstasy, but yeah, that's one of the things, enthusiasm and all that. We come in, and then what happens to us through life? We start to learn the behaviors that make us feel bad, and it's typically learned behaviors. It's typically whenever you experience something as you're going through life, as a child, as a teenager, whatever, as you're going through and you're doing this, you're creating yourself, because remember, nobody can see from your perspective. Only you can respond and create uh, your emotional reaction to anything. So you learn as you go through life to feel sad if this thing happens, to feel frustrated if that thing happens, to feel happy if this thing happens, and so on and so on and so on as you go down the line. And that's just the way it is. And then when you do this, you develop all of these behaviors to get yourself to the point where when one of those events happens, you've already trained yourself to feel this way or that way about it. So if you get an abundance of that negative one where you feel this or that way about it, if you get an abundance of that, then you're in a bad mood. Looking in the other direction, if you get an abundance of the things that you've decided that make you happy, when you get an abundance of those things, then you feel happy and you're enthusiastic. And a lot of the time, if you're very, very happy, you're a lot of the times you're healthy. I'm saying if you're happy for a long extended period of time, you'll notice that in your lifetime, that in that period of time, if it's a amount of years or whatever, you'll notice that there was no sickness. Of course, there's no sickness because not major sickness. I'm saying there's no sickness. Of course, there's none because that's one of the reasons why you stayed so happy because you're healthy, right? So looking at it that way, understanding that's my case for telling you that we're naturally supposed to be happy in our lives. That's the natural state that we're supposed to be in. And a lot of people might dispute that, but this is my take, this is my observation of the facts. And how, if you take advantage of that natural law of what I called earlier, being happy and so on. Some people call it source. Some people would say it's God, and some people would say, I say it's the current. I can break that down in a second. Like, so I call it the current because my analogy for that, for defining the energy that continues to flow through everyone and flow through everything and create everything, and it's a constant flowing thing. And that's why I now call it the current, because the current, just a couple of ways to look at the current, is to look at electricity. Electricity is called a current. And electricity is something that continuously flows and doesn't stop flowing. And they don't know what it is. They haven't still to this day really defined what it is, but they know that they can tap into it and use it. So electricity is a current constantly flowing in the present moment. If it stops flowing in the present moment, then it's no longer a current. Another current to pay attention to is the rivers and streams. Oh, my kids are coming in the house now, so I might have to say something to them, but I'll stay on topic though. Another current to pay attention to is the rivers and streams. And the rivers and streams, again, they're a current that's constantly flowing in the present moment. If the rivers and streams stop flowing, then they can no longer be called a current, right? It's not a current. It's maybe still water, but it's not a current. And the other current is what I'm really trying to show you that we're attached to is the current moment. The current moment is also a continuous flowing thing that doesn't stop. If the current moment stops for any reason, then I guess if there's a person in the current moment that's stopping, then they're gone, they're dead or whatever. But your consciousness, if you notice, your consciousness right now, your consciousness is flowing in the current moment. And in the current moment, you notice that your consciousness never, ever, ever stops. Now, I'm even going further to say that your consciousness doesn't stop even after your body stops. Your consciousness continues, and your consciousness was here before your body began. And the reason why I say that is because like I said, your body can stop, but the consciousness continues. Oh, this is what I was going to say. The reason why I say that is because your mind is kind of made up of two different things. You have your focus, and then you have back of that the current that I'm talking about. The consciousness. The consciousness stays in the present moment, which is the everlasting moment. But the focus, whatever you focus on, leaves the current moment and goes and focuses on, for example, the future, or the past, or the present, which is great to focus on the present. That's that's one of the things they do. That's why they say that's what being mindful is, when you focus on the present. So the thing that happens is that all the currents that I described are continuously moving. Now, I wouldn't say the currents of water and electric are continuously moved forever, but I guess I can say that the current of your consciousness does flow forever, as far as we can see. And you're always experiencing life from the present moment, but you're just taking your focus and you're putting your focus on other things. And when you're in the present moment, in the current, if you're devoid of, let's say, all of those bad things that I described earlier, the things that I talked about the habits of negative emotion that you develop going through life. When you're focused and developing those things, you then begin to go and focus on those things. And when you focus on those things, you take yourself out of the current moment, and you start to feel bad. So when you do that, that is what makes you feel negative emotion. Any kind of negative emotion that you feel is because you've taken your focus off of the flowing, abundant, you know, knows no strain or resistance. You've taken your focus off of that, and now you've focused onto something that's negative that goes against the flow of the current, and now you feel bad. Now you feel sad, frustrated, angry, what have you, all those things. So now you feel all of those things, and then when that happens, you have to kind of get yourself to get back on track. When you get back on track, now you're feeling great. And if you notice as well, when you are in a experiencing a positive moment, again, remember you're always experiencing everything from the present moment. So when you're experiencing a positive moment or a positive time, what's happening is that you're in the current moment, and a lot of time now you're in sync with the current and the energy that creates world, as Abraham Hicks says. So all that said, I said all that to say, my journey coming up from learning Napoleon Hill was a great journey, and it continues to be a great journey. So I studied him, and then I also studied in later years. I remember the book The Secret came out, and I remember the book not the book, but there's other books. But then I studied a bunch of other people. Even like I say, Neville Goddard is one of the great teachers as well, I would say. Um, but let me get into the topic of creating your own miracles. So there's been abundant things happening for me for many years now. As of late, it has really picked up. And I think it wasn't until I really started checking out some of Abraham Hicks's recordings and information that I started that it put what I was already doing, it put it into perspective. And now I'm just kind of teaching it in my own way, because that's really what we're here to do. We're here to co-create. We're here to continue to, to manifest. For first, I want to go into manifestation. Manifestation is something that because I hear people say to me a lot of the time about manifestation. They say, "Yeah, I need to start manifesting," whatever. And it's like manifest. You're manifesting all the time anyway. Okay, um, if you're experiencing reality in any way, like we are, you're manifesting anyway. You're doing that anyway. So the thing is that you want to do is that you want to manifest better. You want to get better at manifesting more positive things to happen in your life. And the way you get better at manifesting more positive things in your life is that you first, in my opinion, from my experience, you first have to get conscious about how manifesting works. And that's pretty much it, though. Once you get conscious of how manifestation works, and you get conscious of a couple of things, as far as I'm concerned, you get conscious of the fact that you are not your thoughts. You're the observer of your thoughts. You are the creator of your thoughts. And then you're also the controller of your thoughts. That's where the power begins. But the first place that the power begins is understanding that you are the observer of your thoughts. You are not your thoughts, and you are also not what you have done. Now, manifestation, that now if you take a look around you right now and look at your hands, just look all around you, whatever, all of what you're seeing and what you're experiencing is something that has already manifested in the past. It's already manifested, and right now, your current consciousness is observing what has already manifested. So this is fascinating. Now, this might be just a way to look at it, but like again, from my experience, this is what I've noticed. Your consciousness is observing the present. I'm sorry. Your present consciousness is observing the things that have already manifested already. That's what's happening right now. Right this moment, you look around and you look at your body, whatever the case may be. You're observing what has already manifested already, and you continue because you're affirming it as you look around at it or whatever, because you believe it. We'll get into belief in a second. You're affirming what your reality is right now in front of you. You're affirming it all the time. And that's the thing. Belief. When you believe something, it becomes your reality. I don't mean fake beliefs. I've said this talk so many times of it. I mean, I'm really honing my message, because I'm really going to be going on a bigger level with this, because this is so dope. This is so amazing. What I was going to say is that when you believe something, it then becomes your reality. Okay. And when I say fake beliefs, when I say fake belief, I mean that faking it is when someone says, like, do you believe that, and this isn't saying anything against the word or Christianity or anything, but when a person says, do you believe that God's going to do this or whatever, or and you say yes, 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 or a motivational speaker says, do you believe that you are a millionaire, you are, you say, yeah, I believe it, I believe it. When you do that, you agree because it sounds great if that was to happen. Yeah, I believe it. But the thing is, you don't really believe it. What's happening is that you're excited about it and you're saying, yes, I believe it, and I'm gonna act like I believe it, whatever. Fake it till you make it and all that. Okay. You can't fake belief. What happens is, basically, belief is something like you believing whatever, wherever you are right now. I can't see you and you can't see me, but wherever you are right now, whatever you're looking around at in your current situation is what you're believing. You believe that you're sitting here listening to me right now. You believe it. So it's real to you. You believe it. It's in your reality. And what you believe, typically you can touch it or identify it, interact with it in reality with your five senses, which leads me to another talk that I maybe I'll get into that tonight, maybe not, about your sixth sense. Your sixth sense is your emotions. And I can break that down in a second, but your emotions are your sixth sense. I even did a whole talk about this the other day. I mean, it might have been yesterday. I did a whole talk about this, about your sixth sense being your emotions. Everybody has emotions, right? So your sixth sense is your emotions. It's your way that you are able to identify whether your focus is in alignment with the current, which is God, which is the source, whether you're aligned with that or you're not. Your emotions are going to tell you that. Your emotions are attached to that, and it's going to tell you whether you're in alignment with that or not. But as I was going, well, you know what? Before I continue, and I will continue, I'm on Wisdom. I'm going to bring a guest on and see what she has to say. And let's go. Her name is Mary Cara. So Mary Cara, get ready. I'm going to bring you on, and the folks on the other platform aren't going to be able to hear. I guess if I unplug my headset, then you'll be able to hear you on the other platform. But okay, Mary. Good to meet you. I hope. Let's bring you on. Hang on. I don't know why it's not bringing you on. I hit it. Oh, I have to hit this. Sorry. There we go. Okay, she's about to come on. I'm going to turn my headset off, and then we'll be able to hear you on my speaker. Hello, Mary Cara. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I'm on a few different platforms. So I'm actually holding the phone up to the mic so everybody else on my other platforms can hear you. How are you? How are you, Mary?
Good. How are you?
I'm very good, very good.
So you were just speaking about five senses, six senses, but I truly, sincerely believe there's a lot more senses that have not been defined yet by science or humanity.
I think so. I think so too. I think there's more. There's more than we can even. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. But I'm just saying your sixth sense is your emotions.
Yes. Your emotions and your beliefs are extremely important. And this is not a disagreement. This is a statement. When you agree and what I agree, or your belief or my belief, may be two different things, and we can learn from one another and not hold on to it.
Okay.
Because if you were to hold on to mine, I become a part of your life.
Right.
And you become a part of mine. So there comes a point that we need to listen listen and understand, and say, we learned from one another, and let go of one another. So somebody's idea of a belief system, like there's ponds, rivers, oceans, seas, dead seas. You know, we're all different. I don't know where it's going to go, but here I go. We have differences, and it is important to have those differences and understand. This is how we understand humanity. This is how we achieve our goals.
I'm listening.
And I did achieve my goals. And when I did achieve, and when I was there, it was very, very, very difficult to stay up there. I did my best. But towards the end, I decided it's really not worth it. All that energy, all that hard work, all the nights that I prayed for my employees, all the nights that I sacrificed, but some will say otherwise. It's okay. What I say may be used against me. But I know that I did it. And at the end, it didn't mean anything.
Why wasn't it worth it, and why didn't it mean anything?
Because I lost myself.
What does that mean, that you lost yourself? What does that mean?
Because basically, I had to go out there and perform and do the best and bring as much money as I could. And that money was spread out, and which was good. It was a thrill. I did it for the thrill. I didn't do it for the finance. And there's many like me. I'm not an important person. I never will be. I don't care. I don't give advice. I share my facts, not my stories. And at the end, it was not worth it. And I enjoyed today my simplicity. And many people said, oh, she failed. She did this, she did that, and whatever. But you know what? At the end, I became who I really was.
Well, I would say that you were who you really were the whole time. But when you were focusing on, because it comes down to perspective. And I guess what I was talking about a second ago is that there's that current that we're supposed to be on all the time. We're supposed to be happy. We're meant to be happy. We're supposed to be there. When we take our focus off of that, then we start to feel discord or bad emotions and frustration and whatnot. So we take our focus off of that. And the focus, as you're going through life, your focus is based on the emotional patterns that you develop along the way, meaning that, like, the perspective that you or anyone, and even myself, the perspective that we take at any given point is going to point you in a certain direction. And touching on what you said about success, that's the thing. In our society, we're kind of given the message so much about what success is, what's success, and it's really subjective. But because of, and I have another talk I'm going to do soon called "Social Proof is Not Proof," basically, or social proof is not the truth, basically, where we're all taught that if you become rich and successful, that's what you're supposed to be striving for. But it's not okay to just be, well, and I'm saying, and it's funny because of the terminology I'm using, to just be. But it's not okay to just be even, because I guess you have to survive in the society. But what I'm saying is, not to cut you off, but I'm going to let you talk in 2 seconds. But what I'm saying is that it's the perspective that, that a person takes at any given point that makes them say, I'm unsuccessful, or I'm a failure, or whatever the case may be. It's completely subjective, because, at any time, the abundance factor always exists in back of everything at any time. It always does. Like I said, you never left the present moment, which is abundance right now. you never leave that. You only leave it with your focus, and then you kind of fool yourself that you've left it.
Yeah, there's multiple variations of abundance.
Yeah.
I don't want that abundance of success, and success comes with a lot of sacrifice and a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of hard labor, and you have to look good, and you have to be dressed good, and I can do a speech and a song and a dance that has always been sung before,
right.
And I'm not writing a book, but by saying all this, for me, I did what was good for me, for my well-being, for me. I was meant to be there. I truly was. It was destiny. I did not plan it. I did not manifest it. Everyone's talking about manifestation, which is great, but there's also a thing called destiny. I was destined.
And you believe that?
Yes, I did. I do now.
You do now?
My grandmother used to always say, your life has already been written the day you were born. And I used to think, what the hell is this woman talking about? I was a little child. She raised me, and I was her companion, and I was her student, and I was everything, and she was everything to me. But yet I would doubt things about her. Like, she would pick up dirt, and she would look at it, and I would say, Grandma, why are you looking at the dirt? And she says, look at this. And I would look. She says, this is why we're killing each other for this dirt. We're all going to end up in it.
Okay, so could what she said and what you were saying, could it be, because you say you believe this, but could it be something that was set in stone by the experiences of your life, and it could absolutely not be the truth, and there could be something completely different than what you're is that, you think that that's possible?
Yeah, because your truth is not her truth, his truth, my truth. It's your belief, and I have to respect that, and I have to understand that. And I need to listen, and I need to learn, but that doesn't mean your truth is my truth.
Well, my truth will never be your truth. That's the thing. We can never experience each other's either other's perspective.
But how privileged are we not only to be on wisdom, and I don't advertise anymore, how privileged that we are in the United States of America, U.S., us. Because if it wasn't for U.S., we would have never, ever known each other.
So let me ask you a question. When you had your business and things went south, what was it that you actually wanted when things were going south? What was your desires at that time? What were your desires at the time?
Well, it was not that it was going sour. I was working 7 days a week. Maybe I put in sometimes 15 hours a day. I couldn't rest. There was always demands and deadlines. I would fly out with a notice. I had to have everything ready, which I couldn't. So I had to buy over there, spend more time. And what went sour, I went sour.
Well, what's different in your life? Okay, I have two questions for you. Well, what's different in your life now, since that's no longer what you're doing? What is different in your life now, as far as are you at a financially less abundant place, or are you at a financially more abundant place?
I have abundance of good friends, good acquaintances, good colleagues, and I like less. I don't want more.
Okay.
If you do choose more, oh my God, I encourage it. It is an experience of a lifetime. But get ready, because it's not easy. But if you surround yourself with good people, positive attitude, and learn from the negatives as well, because they are vital. They're playing a role in your life. Learn. Listen.
Well, that's the question I'm trying to get to, is that when those things were happening at that time, this is the second question, I guess. You said that you were working too much, or whatever the case was. I think you said you're working too much and you had deadlines and this and that. Now, if at the time you were able to, at the time, conquer those issues at the time,
Yes.
would you have been getting what you wanted as far as what you were striving for originally when you were in that situation?
Yes, I did it for the thrill. I never did it for the money.
Right. So that's my point. That you've hit my point. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Because the thing is that that's what I mean about that's your story, but a lot of people's story is the same thing. Because if you take that situation and you say, okay, I did this or whatever, I had to get out of it because it was too stressful. But the thing is that if you were at the time, if you were able to solve the stress, whatever the stress issues were at the time, then you would fulfill beyond your wildest dreams where that was going to go. So now, which is a lot of people do, is sit back and they say, well, I don't do that anymore. I don't do that anymore. It was too stressful for me, man. I don't never do that again. Or I'm better off now than I was then. And it's like, now from my experience, I don't believe that. I believe that the present moment, it is what it is. So you are where you are. However,
you become who you are because of those events.
Right. But if you had to look back, what would your life be right now if you would just have been able to, through some kind of way, through ways that you might have even seen, what would it be right now? What do you think it would be if those problems would have been solved? And where do you think your life would be right now?
I will do it again and again and again.
You would do it again and again and again.
Yes, sir.
See? Okay. You've answered my question beautifully and perfectly. Perfectly. Perfectly.
Because I know at the end, I told my uncle last night, we had a disagreement. I basically walked out. And I said, you know what? At the end of the night, I sleep with angels.
You said at the end of the night, what?
At the end of the night, I sleep with the angels.
Okay.
And I don't regret anything. And if I do, it's minor regrets. But I would do it again. Yes.
Do you want to do it again?
No.
Why?
Too old. I'm 61 years old.
Okay.
That's for the youth to do. And I like watching. I let them free and let them make their own mistakes.
Okay.
They have to. In my opinion. I may be wrong.
Okay. She cut off. Hang on, guys. I gotta put my thing back on here. Okay, she was trying to chime back in. Here she comes. Okay. Now let me kick it about that for a second.
I just want to, my final word
Okay.
is that I watch the youth, and I'm always watching in my family and friends, even my neighbors' children, to make sure they're on the right path. And I watch them. When they ask me, I answer. I give them books that I don't need anymore. I tell my facts. My neighbor's son is going to go to Nassau, and I'm like, oh, I knew it since you were a little boy. I knew it. I watched him grow. Give him some books that he loves to read. And the other day, I was talking to him. He's about 18, 19 years old. And maybe a little bit older now. And for the first time, I revealed to him, Justin, Did you know that I became a co-pilot emergency landing? And it's like, what? You gotta be kidding me. He was fascinated.
Gotcha. Well,
And he's fascinated. And then I'm like, I'm gonna give you a book, Justin. And he's like, please.
so your take on it is that now you feel that you're too old to do what you wanted again, because now this is because of what you believe it takes to do that, correct?
No, not because that I'm old. It's because that I like my simple life.
Okay.
I like where I am.
Would you say you lost the thrill as far as what that was? Would you say you lost the thrill for that?
The thrill belongs to another generation, so we need to step back.
The thrill belongs to another generation?
Yes, someone else, not me.
Why?
Did it? I gave it all, 1,000%, 10,000.
And you weren't fulfilled from that?
I was fulfilled.
Well, at the end, it sounds like you weren't fulfilled from that.
Because at the end, as I said, I lost myself. To get up 4 a.m., 3 a.m., put on makeup, do this, get on your high heel shoes.
Can you break that down a little bit of what it means to lose yourself, so we can get some perspective on what you mean by you losing yourself?
When you are in an environment when there is expectation of others' expectations, which I liked at that most of the 44 decades. That's a long time. Maybe longer. I don't know. I don't remember. And their expectations became mine, but it was theirs. So I lived their lives, not my life.
You mean that you didn't do what you wanted to do? Is that safe to say? You weren't doing what you wanted to do? Is that what it was?
Yes.
Okay.
I did what I had to do. And that's my final words.
Gotcha.
I did what I had to do. And I did my best.
Gotcha. Understood. Okay. Well, this.
Life hacking.
Sorry?
That's called life hacking.
Life hacking is what's called life hacking?
I don't know. To me, words are words, and me speaking multiple languages and traveling all over the world and understanding as much as I could under the circumstances. But I learned a lot, and I'm happy. I'm really happy.
As you should be.
Yes, and it was so funny. This few months ago, my neighbor's son across the street, all of a sudden he became like a teenager going to college. I'm like, wow. It was just the other day. He was a little boy. So my friend gave me this book. My friend was a designer for a very huge company, did other stuff too at the same time. Gave me this book that has never been published. And it was basically based on designers. And so I decided to give him the book. And he said, please give it to my mom. That's what he studied, design. And I gave it to his mom. And a few days later, my brother's in the garage. I live in a family home. And he goes, oh, Mary, I got to give you something. And I'm like, oh, really? And he's digging into the garage. That beautiful book, an original, is dumped because he has no knowledge. And I'm like, John, I gave it to his son. You know what the father said? The son is kind of slow, so he won't understand that book. I'm like, couldn't respond to my brother. I thought about it. That kid is not slow. That kid has tunnel vision. That kid knows.
Right, but
So
what we really
the mother took the book. Somehow the father got his hands on it. It's visual arts.
what did that book do for you?
That book was my final. It was my destination. and I'm not landing this plane yet. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Okay.
And
What would you say the thrill that when you had that business going, what would now what I've learned from my studies is that when you want to do anything, when you want to achieve any kind of goal, it's usually because of how you're going to feel when you get that. So would you say, right? Well, would you say that when you had that thing going well and it was going the way you wanted it to, you achieved what you wanted, but would you say once you achieved the feeling that you wanted, then things changed?
because when life for me, you may disagree, is a lot of roads, different paths.
No, I do agree with that.
Yeah, and I can't focus on. Yes, I have tunnel vision. I have other things too, defined by scientists, not me. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I'm 61 years old. Thank God I'm blessed with good health. I smoke and I drink and I talk a lot, and I'm in perfect condition right now. Tomorrow's another day. And but right now, this is where I want to be. Alone, in silence, and I love sharing. I love sharing my life story. Actually, it's not a story, it's fact. Right now, this is where I want to be. What I want to do in the next 2 years, I don't know. That's God's decision. You see, when you reach your goal, you have other dreams and other dreams and other dreams. People should not stop achieving dreams. You could just stop and pause it. For now, that's okay. For me, that's okay. I'm at a pause.
Okay, I don't know what happened there. Let's see what happened there. She got cut off. I don't know what happened there. Let me put my headset back on. She comes back. Let me see. Let's see. Coming back. She got cut off there for some reason. I don't know. I'm a little bit new to this app as well, so I don't see where I can bring him back on. All right. Well, I don't know. I guess, Mary, if you want to come back on, then tap that button and I'm going back to my headset. Okay, so you can probably hear me better now. When I come back, I just hit the button and you can come on back. But let me unpack a little bit. I guess kind of her story, as well as, and I hope people on the other platforms, I hope that you could hear that I was holding the phone up. Like I said, this is my first time on the other platforms doing this. Holding the phone up to the microphone, which is we have to now wait a while until they actually incorporate Wisdom, going live on Wisdom, into other platforms like Restream, and there's a bunch of other platforms where you can multi-stream on different platforms. But we have to wait until I guess they do that. Dio is the CEO. I hope that she will handle that soon, because it would be very good to be able to just, everybody be able to hear the guest that comes on Wisdom on other platforms. But I have to hold the mic there. So I don't know. We'll see if I'll be doing this, multi-streaming again on other platforms, depending on how that guest sounds and any other guest that comes up. We'll see how they sound in the microphone. But one of the things I wanted to touch on, as far as what I think her name was Mary. I think what she was saying is that when she was in the situation where everything was going great, this happens to a lot of people, and it also has happened to me. And then when you get to that situation, remember the concept I gave earlier about abundance, us being basically our natural state being that of abundance and excitement and non-resistance. Basically, when we're in that state, the thing is that that's our natural state. So whenever we feel any kind of discord or any emotions like frustration or anger or whatever, we're now not on track with that. So just to say this really quickly, if you, and this is some of the information I can give on creating your own miracles, when you can monitor your emotions and monitor your thinking, which your thinking is what usually leads to emotions, and you can stay in that positive state of being, then all of the things which you desire start to make themselves present in your experience. So that's the thing that I've discovered now. That's the amazing thing that I've discovered. Even the wisdom app came to me because I've been doing that, and it came to me and then it came to me through an email, and then I usually delete those emails, and then I actually did it, and then it revamped my brand building as far as teaching abundant life hacking, which is hacking life in order to achieve abundance through the law of attraction, is lack of a better term to say it. So even when those things happen, that's what happens. I mean, when those things happen, it causes you to feel bad. But here's the thing. This is why I was asking her that question. I was saying that if those things were making you feel bad at the time, what was happening was that the focus then turned off of that current that I'm talking about, which is God, which is source, which is positivity, which is lack of what would you call it? Resistance. Okay. So when that happens, you feel bad, right? And if you're monitoring, this is what I've noticed, and I can back it up as well, because if you look at some people like millionaires who lose it all and then get it back, it's the same thing. If you keep a focus on feeling good, feeling abundant, feeling happy, by monitoring how you think and how you feel, the way to solve problems makes itself apparent. But if your thinking is, I can't focus on, which is what you sounded like, you're so stressed out about this and that and this and that and this and that, and you're so focused on that now you can't find the alignment to feel the lack of stress and the lack of pressure. So I haven't been in that situation. I guess I've been some situation. I've had successes and failures in my lifetime, and I expect to have more successes and failures. That's what it's about. It's about experiencing it, and then you decide where you want to go, right? We always want to go wherever you're going to be happy, but you have to be, what I've learned is that you have to be happy wherever you are right now. And I'm so glad she is that you have to be very happy with where you are right now. Now, just take her story. And this isn't any, I hope, and nothing I ever say is any disrespectful to anyone, but I'm just using her story as an example to emphasize what I've learned and my own experience. If you put her back, or anyone that's in that situation, back to the situation where she was feeling abundantly stressed and where she said she lost herself, or she felt like she was losing herself because she had to live the way other people, and so on and so on. If at that moment a person can sit back and say, I'm happy where I'm at. This is what it is. I'm stressed out. I'm whatever. I feel like I'm losing myself, and so on and so forth. If a person can sit at that moment, which at the time it was her current moment, right? It was the present moment at the time. If they can sit back at that time and say, I'm happy, or I'm good where I'm at. I'm acknowledging where I'm at. I know that I have to do all of these things, but I'm happy where I'm at. And however this turns out, see, that's the thing. If you're not able to say, however this turns out, I'm fine, then you end up feeling obligated to the stress, to whatever the stimuli is. You feel obligated to that. And when you feel obligated to that, you're blocking yourself off. Well, if you feel obligated and it's a stressful obligation, you're blowing yourself off from the natural flow of what prosperity and abundance is, which is what I described earlier, which is the current, which is God, which is the source, which is the energy that's in back of everything. It's the energy in back of you right now, and it's the thing that causes the trees to grow, it causes babies to get conceived, and all that miracle, everything positive and abundant and enthusiastic in the universe. It causes all that. That's the energy of, like I said, and I'm glad they say that that's God, because that's true. That is that energy, and we're all part of that, and we're all experiencing it right now. But if you don't focus on that, then what happens if you don't focus on it? You feel a discord, you feel a depression, you feel, like I said before. So what my point is saying that when a person is in that state, That's why I was asking her, well, when you were in that state, if things would have worked out, then where would you be now? And I think one of the things that she had emphasized is, well, wow, I would be, and she described it. So that's what I'm trying to say. And also, if a person is in that state and they say, well, this is too stressed, and whatever the case may be, if that happens, that's okay too, because that's a lesson on the journey. However, what I'm saying is that you never have to, you will though, but you never really have to go backwards or go down. As long as you remember, as long as you have the consciousness to understand that I'm not my thoughts and I'm not my life either. I'm observing my life and I can control what happens in it, no matter what it is. So if you can, in a tight situation, be happy where you are, and that's a choice to be happy where you are. And one of the things that I definitely recommend is to meditate every day for at least 10 minutes. I would say I think every day. I try to do every day for at least 10 minutes. And that's to do it is to quiet your thoughts, because once you quiet your thoughts, or when you sleep at night, as Abraham Hicks says, when you sleep, that's when all the resistance stops. And then you become connected with that current, that source, the God, whatever, what have you, you become more connected with that, because you stop resisting. You stop putting your attention on things that start pulling you away from that current, the stream. Remember, the current is a stream. You to pull yourself away from it every time you decide to focus on something and pull yourself away, and you feel those bad emotions, you pull yourself away from it. So when you meditate, which is what I do, there's a lot of types of meditations. The meditation that I do is the meditation where you quiet your mind. And that usually begins with, if you've ever meditated before, if this type of meditation where I use Zen music. Some people, you can do anything. You can use a visual meditation where you focus on a dot, but you have to begin to focus on something that's really, 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 really boring. And when you do that, you focus on something very boring, and you're focusing your attention, just like you may be listening to this right now. The same way you listen to this, you focus your attention on something that's really boring, like your breathing. So what I do, you focus on your breathing, and you breathe for, in and out slowly for at least 10 minutes. Sometimes I go for 30 minutes. I haven't done that in a while, but lately I've been doing 15 or 20 minutes, 15, 25 minutes. And I feel amazing when I do it. I feel like, just like, it's almost like it's almost like an ecstasy that I feel when I do that. And of course I've smoked weed in my life or whatever. And, I've done that. I haven't really done anything else beyond that, but I'm just saying that kind of high, it's like, and of course I've drank before, I've been drunk before, but I'm saying it's not the same kind of high. It's actually a better high. It's like a high where it's like you're just in pure, you're not thinking about anything, by the way. You're present and you're current in the current moment, and you're just in this current. Like I said, the current that's currently moving. Let me say it like this. When you see birds fly into formation, they'll be in a formation, and what will happen while they're in the formation is that they'll seem to be following the head bird, right? They'll seem to be following they'll seem like maybe there's a bird leading them. It looks like that, but they're actually really moving at the same time. They're all moving at the same time, and they seem to be kind of swirling around randomly, but like in like a bliss. So when you see that, understand that is that energy, maybe personified, for lack of a better term. That's that God source energy personified, swirling around in ecstasy. And that is what we are all part of. That's what we are all made of. So when you can meditate and slow your thoughts down and get in touch with that, you experience that swirling, moving around joy of what is back of all of us and everything. You experience that. Now, when you sleep, you might not experience it that way because you're asleep, you're unconscious. But think about it. Think about sleep for a second, though. When you sleep and you get some good rest, You wake up feeling refreshed. Oh, I got a good night's sleep. Think about that. You've now joined yourself back with the source, God, and so on as you slept, and it rejuvenated your body. Your body's now rejuvenated. Your mind is rejuvenated. You just feel good. I had a good night's sleep, and then the rest of your day goes pretty well. The messed up thing is that when you get that sleep and you wake up, and then your thoughts, which is what you create. Remember, you're not your thoughts. I'll say this again. You are not your thoughts. You create them, you observe them, and if you work with me or listen to what I'm saying, you control what those thoughts are the best way you can. I mean, you can't 100%, but 70, 80, 90%, yes, you can. You absolutely can. You can send them in the right direction so that, because according to the law of attraction, when you think of a particular thought, you start to attract the associations to that thought. So that's why when you wake up in the morning, as the analogy I just gave, when you wake up in the morning and you feel you feel great, then all of a sudden you start thinking about the problems of the day. You're now creating that reality of the bad thing that happened, the bad things that are going to happen during the day. You've just dictated that. You've just created that. And now you've starting to produce momentum on that, and there you go down that road. When you might think about different subjects, but when you think of that bad subject that you're stressing about, now you're going to go down that road, and you've created that because what you didn't do was set yourself up to not think of that. And this is one of the other lessons that I teach about auto suggestion. You haven't looked at the subject that got you depressed or stressed out or frustrated. You haven't looked at the subject and unpacked it a little bit to think differently about it when you think about it. Because that's what I was saying earlier to the person that joined us a while ago, is that if you could have looked at it a different way, do you think it's possible that you could have looked at it a different way and then there could have been a different outcome? I think she said yes. And that's the truth of the matter, is that if you can look at it in a different way, there's many ways the way to look at it. And let me tell you why there's many different ways to look at it. Because how many times do you hear somebody's bad story and you hear about they did something crazy or they did something stupid, and then you look at it and you say, man, I wouldn't have done that. I would have done fill in the blank. And the reason why you do that is because there's a whole lot of different ways you can look at it. Now, I know when you do that, you're looking from the outside in, which is true, and that's fine to do that. That's a lot of what we do. But think about that. When you do that, when you look from the outside in, you don't have the resistance or the stress that person has when they're inside doing that. However, when the person is that's my point. When the person is in that stressful situation, I'll say it better. When they're in that stressful situation, they have the option. We all do. We all always have the option of understanding that we're in the current moment, and the current moment is the everlasting moment. And in the current moment is where we always have the most power, because we can always control what we're thinking about right now, no matter what it is. It's just that our emotional attachments to the bad things, to the things that we've set up in our emotions, our emotional bank, if that's what you want to call it, the bad things that we've set up there force us by what Think and Grow Rich says, cosmic habit force. It causes us to just go in that direction and hold tight and hold steady and hold firm to those things, to how you're going to deal with it. So that said, you can always change it. Now, I'm trying to get back on track to where I even started this about creating your own miracles. But what I just said, it was a whole lot of nuggets if you doubt what I say, or if you're looking to understand how you can actually create your own miracles. Because if you've had a big failure in your life, I've had them too, but I'm saying if you've had a big failure, understand what it was that happened. Or if you've had someone that really gets you pissed off or angry or whatever, understand that every time, and I've counseled a lot of people in my life, and I've counseled a few people where I've actually helped them save their marriages. I even saved my own, but I've helped them because of the fact that I kind of tell them something that's somewhere along the lines of this, is that when you're in the present moment, you have the opportunity to think differently, to change how you feel about it. That's one of the key things to creating your own miracles, is that if you're in a stressful situation, like a relationship or whatever, and every time you visit that subject, immediately you feel like shit, or you feel bad about it, or whatever, you get stressed out about it, or whatever the case may be. If you immediately visit that situation in that way, and you immediately feel that way about it, and here's the big thing, here's the huge thing about it, when you feel that way, if you haven't understood the fact that you are not your thoughts, and that you control your thoughts, and you create your thoughts, and you think your thoughts, if you understand that, that's the beginning of consciousness, by the way. That's the beginning of higher consciousness, by the way, is where you can actually look down and monitor what you're thinking about. So when you're in that stressful situation that I'm talking about, when you do that, if you haven't developed the higher consciousness concept, which is just using your imagination, then you'll continue to go down that road, because when you're in the higher consciousness aspect, you can look back down at that, and you can say, wait a minute, I'm feeling this way about it, but do I have to feel this way about it? And then comes those questions. You know what? I really don't have to feel this way about it. And then you start to think of options, because remember, once it's almost like you're in the fourth dimension. I thought about this earlier about dimensions. Your mind, your consciousness, it exists. All of our consciousnesses exist in a different dimension. They're not in this. The third dimension is where we're at right now, right? The third dimension is where we can activate all of our senses, right? But our emotions, as well as our consciousness, exist in a different realm. And I remember the woman that came on earlier, she had said, I think that there's a lot of senses that we have. And I agree, because all the senses that are not available in this third dimension are available in the other dimensions. And I think they might even be assigned to different dimensions, but we call them a higher dimension because of the fact that we're able to look down. For example, we can look down out of our eyes into this third dimension, and we can manipulate things and create things and experience life through this third dimension, which includes physical objects. And it also includes, like, it definitely includes space and time, so we look down into this from the fourth dimension. We look down into this, and I'm only using this as a term, like I said, just to paint a picture. We look down from the fourth dimension into this physical dimension, this third dimension. We look down into it and experience life through this. But until we realize that our consciousness is in a different dimension, as well as our emotions are attached to that consciousness, but until we realize that, we can't have the higher consciousness to look down and say, wait a minute, I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my life. I'm consciousness, and I'm controlling this. Then you begin to be able to observe from, I guess for lack of a better term, from a third party, to understand and observe your life like you're looking at somebody else's life, like you're watching a movie. And then you get where I'm at right now, which is understanding how to make things really start popping in your life, and make things that you never thought would happen start to happen, because now you have the power to observe where your emotions are, and you have the power to observe where your thinking is. So once you can do that, which I've been doing, it's work. It's not hard work, though. It's really not. I mean, just to be honest, it's not hard work. It's not excruciating work. It takes a bit of an effort, but it's almost like a fun effort, because you actually start to, it's like Abraham Hicks says, you start molding the clay of how you want your life to go, and how you want things to be. You start molding the clay. And when you start molding the clay, then you start to see things happen. As I said earlier, your consciousness exists right now, all the time, in the current moment, the current everlasting moment. Your consciousness is observing all of the manifestations that have taken place in the past. And right now, as you think and you listen to this broadcast right now, you're creating the events that are going to happen for you in the next seconds to hours to days to years. You're constantly creating that right now. That's why As I talked to the earlier caller, it was not dire. It wasn't the end, and you weren't losing yourself. Because you said you were losing yourself, which is you thought you were losing yourself. If you think that's what was happening, then that's going to be your reality. I'm losing myself. So if you say that, then that's your reality. If you say no, I'm not, and then you can calm down and observe your thoughts, that your thoughts are telling you that. If your thoughts are telling you that that's what's happening, then you can observe them and saying, no, I'm not, because you never would lose it. Now, just to add a little validation to what I'm saying, have I ever felt in my life that I lost myself? Yes, absolutely, 100%. And that's why I can say from my own experience that, yes, that does happen, that can happen. And that happened to me because of the same reason, because I realize now I took my focus off of the alignment that I'm having right now with the current, which is God and the source and all that, the abundance, the feeling good, the happiness, the bliss, all that. I took my focus off of that, and then I convinced myself, which is we all convince ourselves, I convinced myself that I was lost, not me. Then when I got back in alignment with myself, which I think is the same thing she did, when she got back in alignment with herself, she said, oh, now I'm cool, I'm happy. I was going to lose this, but I thought I was losing this, but I didn't, and here I am. And that's the thing. Can you imagine in that same situation if she would have found herself the same way that she is right now, where she says she's happy? Imagine in that same situation if she was there. And this is not just her, this is anybody. If she would have found herself where she is right now in happiness right now, she said she's happy and she's cool right now, whatever. If she would have found herself right now in that same situation, I guarantee you, then the answers would have come, and what you wanted to happen would have happened, because it's almost like I realize is that when you're in alignment and you're in flow, they call it flow, by the way, as well, because flow, that's another word. Flow means movement, consistent movement, flow. When something stops moving, it's not flowing, and something's not flowing, it's not moving, rather. When something's not, that's flow. So when you're in flow, you hardly even have to give it a thought. Even a lot of the things I'm talking about tonight, right now, I'm in flow, and the words that come out of my mouth sometimes, it's almost like I'm not forcing them out of my mouth, they're just flowing. And the thoughts feel excellent. They feel, when you're flowing and you're talking and the right words are coming out, when you flow like that, just like with freestyling when you rap. I used to rap. So when you flow and all that, and it just comes out so smooth, you don't even have to think about it. It just comes out without any effort, and it feels good. It's like you're just riding a wave. And that's what I'm trying to tell everyone on this first call that I'm doing on multi-platforms. I'm trying to tell everyone, if you get yourself into the flow, and there's a way to keep yourself into the flow constantly, you can't, well, from what I've seen, I can't do it 24 hours a day, but I can do it a lot of the time in the day. When you can keep yourself in the flow, abundance, it's just abundance. And I mean, not negative abundance, I mean positive abundance. It just becomes positive abundance on top. And then the law of attraction starts to take place, because law of attraction is where like attracts like. And by the way, that was not the secret in the book, The Secret. And that's not the secret. The secret is not law of attraction. Law of attraction is the law, just like the law of gravity is law. Okay. So the law of attraction is just, it is what it is. We should already know that. It's just is. It's the law. The real secret in The Secret was that we create our own reality, which is what I was talking about earlier. That was what the secret was. And can you imagine what the powers that be, why they get afraid at times when people start getting very conscious? Because that's what has happened. The powers that be have created a world based on their reality and pulled other people in, basically, because when reality gets created, it forms into an agreement by many. And if somebody's putting in front of you, you are broke and you need to strive to be rich, and that's all you see, and you have no point of reference that, wait a minute, I don't have to do that. I can just be happy and do whatever I want and exist the way I want. When you have no point of reference to that, you're going to have to follow what is being said about you had better strive to become successful and rich. And then when you do that, you'll be happy. And then when the thing is that in this third dimensional world, the system is set up so that the richer, or the people that control things, they will continue to become richer and more powerful because of the labor from you, because you believe that you have to work and become successful, or work to survive, or whatever. You believe that. We believe that, basically. So then we just continue to fuel the beast, I guess is the best way to say it. To fuel the beast. I guess that's what we continue to do. Now, does that mean that I do not strive to become more successful, richer, whatever the case is? Does that mean that I don't strive? No, I do that because obviously I believe that. Now, can I change my belief? Yes, I can. Now, what would happen if I did that? I don't know, but I'm willing to bet I'd be fine because of the fact that a lot of the things that I have received haven't been the case. A lot of things that I have received that have been awesome, and I'm talking about material things. A lot of things that I have received, I've gotten without using money, and maybe less money, or whatever the case may be. I've gotten those things without being super rich. So that's my point. And a lot of time you'll notice a lot of people get help and sometimes even flourish through life without that being the case, because it's like what you want, typically what you really want, you get it. Typically you get it. The problem is, as I said earlier, is that when you block yourself from getting it by having doubt, frustration, anger, whatever the case may be, that's when you get off the course of the flow of the current. You move yourself off of that current, and then when you move yourself off of that current, you end up not getting what it is you want. Hold on 2 seconds. My son is here. Yes? Oh, he just hugging me. Good night. Okay, so when you do that, you get yourself off of the current, and then your desire is actually already right there for you, waiting for you to take hold of it, because it's going to come to you not in the ways that you thought. It's going to come to you in ways that you didn't think. Now, and I'm going on an hour and a half here, so I don't know who's still listening. On my wisdom family right there, if somebody could throw some hand claps up to show me that I still have some people up in the room right here that are enjoying what I'm talking about. More than one person. Thanks. I appreciate that. Usually ask for more than one, and then everybody else is afraid to hit the hand clap. But it's fine. It's fine. At least a few people are getting the game here. Thank you. Okay, so let me continue on. What was I going to say a second ago? I got thrown off because my children came to say goodnight to me. I guess what I was saying a second ago is that you throw yourself off from the current that you are. When you want something, it's created for you. You get it right then. But then if you don't watch for it, now I remember what I was going to say. Okay. Abraham Hicks talks about this, and it's so true. And at this point, I mean, I don't see evidence to refute it, but I can say that there's evidence to prove it, but then people would say, well, that's not proof, but I think it is proof. And I believe that when you want something, when you have a good, authentic desire for something, it literally gets created. She says it gets created in the vortex. I say it gets created somewhere in the universe. It's like, I was talking to my son about this earlier. It's funny. Like when you want something, when you have an authentic desire for something, you use your imagination. When you have that authentic desire, that authentic desire comes from your imagination. And when it comes from your imagination, a lot of people take their imaginations for granted. You don't understand that you're living your life right now through your imagination. Your imagination is, again, it's in another dimension. Your imagination is in another dimension. Okay? Now, follow me here for a second. Your imagination is in a different dimension. So if I'm saying it's a different dimension, it just means that it's something that's real. It may not be in the third dimension. See, the things that are in the third dimension where we are right now in this time-space reality, the third dimension, we can respond to everything through our senses. So in the third dimension, it's what we consider to be real, when what is actually real is actually the other dimensions as well. So when you have your imagination, we're not taught this stuff, man. I mean, this is what gets kind of crazy, but not so crazy when you look at the world and the way that the powers become more powerful. The things that are in this dimension are we can respond to with our senses, right? But the third dimensional stuff is actually, it's amazing. And I see you there changed up. Give me 1 second. I want to close this point real quick. The third dimensional stuff is what we can respond to with our senses, but the other dimensions are the things that are actually real too. So imagine that your imagination is actually real. This is what I mean by that. So this is an example, I guess, to give you an example of imagination. Wherever you are right now, wherever you are, close your eyes. Well, first of all, before you close your eyes, look at your hands, look around you, look at, think about the things that happens in your life, whatever. Now, you're always doing this from the present moment. Now, wherever you are, look around you where you are and everything. Look at your body, look down at your stomach, whatever, look back at your arms and whatever. Now, close your eyes. Now, close your eyes and think about this for a second. I know, of course, if you're blind, this could be the case too, but I'm just saying, if you close your eyes, now, where did your body go? Okay. Now, think about this for a second. Is your body still there? Is the stuff that's around you still there? Or are you just imagining that it's there? Without feeling around for anything with your three-dimensional vehicle, without doing that, just think about it. Is it still there? Okay. Let's go a little bit further. What did you do? Okay, have you ever gone on a nice trip? Think about for a second going on that trip. Think about the details of that trip. Think about, let's say if it was in a car, if it was on a plane, think about that. Think about the seat, the looking out the window of the plane, some of the experiences that you had on that. You don't have to do it all right now, but but I have to say it fast to make the point. Now think about things like that. When that happened, now when you think about it really vividly, and you might have to sit back and meditate and do it that way. When that happens, when you're doing that, are you here in your body and you're imagining that, or have you actually traveled now to that point in time? Because it can be very real when you do that, and you can feel like you're right there. And if you're reminiscing and going back to a time when whatever happened, did you actually go back there, or are you actually still here? And that's my point. My point in saying this is not to say anything crazy. And I also see there's a few people in the queue here. I'll bring you up in a second. And I'm also gonna sign off from my other platforms because I'm going long, and there's not a lot of viewership on the other platforms. If there is, I guess somebody send me a chat, because I'm still checking my software to see how many people are around on the other platforms. I don't really, let me see. Yeah, I can't really check the way I want to. All right, so I'll stay on the other platforms. I'm going a long time. But okay, let me get back to what I was saying. Sorry. Now, if you're actually, doing that, you see yourself in these other places, and my question is, are you really there? Okay. So that said, you might say, well, no, I'm not there. I'm just here imagining. Okay, but you have your eyes closed and whatnot. Now, your imagination, who's to say? Now, remember, we were talking about belief, right? We were talking about belief, and when you believe something, it becomes reality. Now, who's to say that you didn't actually travel back to that place and do that, but you just did it, but you did it in a different dimension, right? So your imagination is a very, very real thing. Okay. And that's what I'm trying to say. Your imagination is a real thing. So when you have a desire, I went off on a little bit of a tangent, but it's exciting that I know this, and I'm able to change my reality by doing this. I'm able to change my third dimensional reality. I'll say it that way. So when you have a desire for something, you actually create that, or it's created in another dimension. The key is that because of the rules of this reality, or the rules of what they call, I guess, the laws of the universe, because of those rules, and I guess, like I said, they're laws, meaning that there has to be gravity, there has to be space, there has to be time. There definitely seems that there has to be time, meaning that these things have to play out according to the rules of this place. of this third dimension. So when you have something in the quote unquote fourth dimension, which is your imagination, which is, I'm just, like I said, I'm just saying this to land the point. So I have something for you to have a point of reference of. When you have something that is actually created in your mind, for example, your imagination, which is real in the fourth dimension, it's there, it's real. The thing is that now you have the power, because remember, because of the law of attraction, you begin to attract yourself to that desire, and that desire begins to flow to you, and you begin to flow towards it. And you do that, all these things happen to transpire for you because you're going through people, places, and situations that are going to guide you to that. That's why I say every day, savor the journey, because it's not about accomplishing or getting the desire that you want. That's awesome when that happens. But if you could do that, what would be the point of getting to the desire right away when you couldn't savor the journey to the desire? You just get it, boom. You imagine if everything happened like that. What would be the point of living through life in this third dimensional way? What would be the point of going through life if you didn't have to go through the rules and the laws in order to get to the desire that you wanted? You just, it's like you'd have a meal. One of the examples Abraham Hicks gives is like you have a meal, and it's your favorite meal. You sit down to eat the meal, and then whoop, you swallow it in one shot. You wouldn't do that. You'd savor it every bite, and then you had the meal, you enjoyed it. Now you got it, right? So now you got your meal. So now that you got your meal, you're satisfied. But it was the eating of the meal, it was the savoring of the meal. So this is how I continue to attract more and more and more and more abundance, because I understand the fact that you must keep yourself in the current and flowing with the energy that they call God, or they call the source, or whatever, the current. I call it the current. You keep yourself in the current, because when you do that, you are going to savor the current, the present moment, and you're going to observe with that higher consciousness that I talked about earlier. You're going to observe all the things that are playing, the way the things that are playing out. It's fascinating the way things played out, because a lot of the things that I've received recently and a while ago, they didn't come to me. I wanted them really badly, but they didn't come to me the way that I thought they would come to me. Nor are the things that I want and that going into the future, are they going to come to me the way that I want them to, or that I think they would. It comes to you in all these different strange ways, but you just have to, that's why they call it faith. You have to have faith that it's going to happen, but you have to just watch and keep yourself in the current. Now, that said, that was a mouthful. That was a mouthful. And I'm having a great time, by the way. And now I'm going to bring on, I think Changed Up Now was here first. So, okay, you're counting down Changed Up Now. And I'm going to try to hold the phone again up to the microphone for the other platforms. I'm going to have to turn my headset off. Oh, I see this, brother. I was listening to you guys the other day. Who were you talking to? You were talking to Mr. Julian. I was on that broadcast, and maybe you remember me from that. I talked to him for a while.
Oh yeah, I remember you from a couple. Miko.
Oh yeah, Miko. He's doing better now.
Yep, and Julian. Hi.
Yeah.
So I came in a little bit afterwards, but when you were talking about the vortex, I believe I know who you were talking about. Abraham.
Yes,
Hicks, right?
yes, Abraham Hicks. Yep, one of my greatest teachers.
Oh man, see that's the thing though, man. Like I try to get into her teachings, but I can't. I don't know. It's like riding a wave with her, because at one second it's like, okay, I can understand what she's saying, then the next second she starts going a little bit deep.
Right.
I kind of understand the vortex, but I don't know. So what is your take on the vortex?
Okay. Well, the vortex, as she explains it, now I see it a different way, because what I do, let me say this real quick, and then I'll get into my understanding of the vortex. Everything that I ever talk about on any of my talks or anything, or any of the information that I'm putting together, anything that I talk about is from personal experience. It's from studying a bunch of different teachers. It's not just Abraham Hicks. The thing about Abraham Hicks is that studying her stuff helped me more than other teachers that I studied, just to put things into perspective, because I was already doing a lot of the stuff that the other teachers were saying, and then my own experimentation. But then when she started kicking it, I was like, oh, now I get the perspective of it. That's why I was like, wow, now I'm on fire. And now it's like I just keep getting all this stuff. You know? So, okay. So the vortex, basically, what I say is that as soon as you want something, can you hear me okay? Because I'm holding the phone in a strange way.
Oh, yeah, I can hear
Okay,
you good.
so the vortex is basically what she says it is. It's like a swirling, and it's funny that she says swirling because that's the same way I describe the energy of God, I guess, the current of God and source and whatever. It's like a swirling, swooning energy. Like it doesn't be still. It just continues to move and swirl around. So she says that the vortex, as soon as you have a desire, infinite intelligence goes in and says, okay, like let's say you say, well, I want a bigger house. Instantly, it's created in the vortex. It's there. Boom, the new house is there. You can't see it. And what I say is that somewhere in the universe, I believe that when you want something, somewhere in all creation, which is in other dimensions, true as well, right? So somewhere in other dimensions, which are real to me, and I think they're just real. And somewhere in other dimensions, that thing that you want, it's just created right then, right there, because imagination is not what we think it is. Imagination is how we come up with ideas and whatever. And also imagination creates things in this third dimensional world. And the quick example I give about that is if you want to cook a meal, you conceive the meal and then you go and cook it. And then it's real. And then it's here. So that came in the form of a thought. And that was somewhere out in the universe. And then you went through the steps to make it real. And then it became real. Then it was right in front of your face. It became part of your experience. So it's the same thing when it comes to something that you think is impossible to get. And this is all throughout the Bible, by the way, too. Like it's all some of these examples are throughout the Bible as far as like when you seek, you'll find and so on and all that. It's like it's just said in a different way. Like all the teachers are saying the same thing in a different way. So the vortex is basically that. And I'm seeing that if you have a desire for something and then you don't go against the grain and start saying, how am I going to get it? That's where the problem comes in. When you start thinking about how is this possibly going to happen? So I stopped doing that. I stopped saying how, because all the teachers I was listening to, they all kept saying that common thread. Stop thinking about the how. That's not your job. Stop thinking about the how. Just know that you're going to get it. And it's hard to know because you can't make yourself believe. But what you can do is you can take your mind off of it, know that you want it, and just watch. That was the key as well. You start to watch things in your life that it might be something off. It might be an inspiration that you get. It's called inspired thought. You'll be thinking, you'll be sitting somewhere and all of a sudden you'll have the thought, I need to do this. Or you'll be walking past somewhere or driving past somewhere. Let me go in here for a second. You see what I'm saying? Stuff like that. And then something will happen and you'll realize looking back when you finally get what you want, you look back and you say, you know what, if I had never called this person, just like with the example I gave on one of my talks, I give an example of how I got $120,000 RV a couple of weeks ago for free for a few. I got it for a few days, and I was looking at rentals and all that stuff. And if I hadn't had the inspired thought to call my best friend that day, then he wouldn't have told me, oh yeah, my sister, they just got another one. It's new, whatever. Really? Just wonder if they'll let me use it. And then it was just crazy the way it all played out. I was telling my wife about, like, man, I was like, if this is true that they have a new one, and we're trying to get one, I'm just going to be quiet and watch it. I said, now you just watch. Now let's see what happens. Before you knew it, we're in the RV, had the vacation of our lives. So I'm just saying that was my latest example, my latest big thing. But my point is that using that example, when I wanted to get that, I really wanted that RV because I was looking them up online and all that stuff. My wife didn't want to do it, but I just had that feeling of I really want to do this. I think it's great, and I think it's going to work out great. And then my feeling was my feeling about it was, well, if we don't go, because we went to Virginia Beach, I said if we don't go there, maybe we'll get it someday for something. So let me go ahead and look it up. Maybe we'll get it another time. And that's what my thinking about it. But then just things started bam, 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 bam. And I'm sitting there like, wow, I got pictures and everything. When I put my material together, I'm going to put pictures of that and everything of how that happened. The house I live in, the same thing. We didn't know how, but we just said we want a bigger house. And one of the things that we did, I said, you know what? I told my wife, I said, this is years ago now. It was only a few years ago. I said, according to the laws of attraction, what would we do if we had the money to get a big house right now? I said, we go look for a house. She said, you're right. I said, let's go look for a house every weekend. So that's what we did. We didn't have the money to get it, but we looked for a house every weekend. We went out to an open house. And then, man, I'm just saying, but this is the way this works. I didn't know how that was going to happen. I didn't say, I didn't focus on it and say, I got to do this to make it happen. But then things started unfolding. You know what I'm saying? Like we kind of went on with our life. Don't stress. Keep yourself in that, that positive state of, where you're not stressed or frustrated or whatever. You have to observe. You have to go you have to activate the higher consciousness. I talked about that a second ago. I don't know if you were listening, about how to activate. It's just a concept, but if you activate the higher consciousness in that way, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. And I'm rambling on, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm listening. I'm taking all this in. Okay.
Okay.
But your wife, y'all mean a lot to me in this moment because y'all.
Gotcha.
And then the fact that y'all did it together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She was on board. You was on board, and y'all made it happen.
Yep.
There's a book called The Game of Life. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's by Florence Scovel. I might be butchering her last name, but she's on YouTube. It's an audio book. It's 2 versions. I listened to the short versions for a while before I found out that it was a longer version. And in that book, it's a male voiceover, but a female author, and she goes. She would describe what you did as digging your ditches. Okay. So he describes a woman who didn't have money for Christmas presents this particular year. And she was just like going to sit there and accept it. But then she said, I'm going to go on and buy the tinsel twine. I'm going to buy the wrappings for the gifts and stuff. Yep. And that's what she did. She went ahead and she made everything was fine. Like she knew she was going to have the gifts or the money, and then something came through. So it's like you and your wife, y'all digged y'all ditches and stuff. Yep. So that's good. That's good. So I was going to ask you 2 questions. One is that the part of resistance is the hardest part for a lot of people, and even I struggle with it sometimes. It's like, my faith may be big on this, and I know, it's coming like clockwork, but then on this, it's like, ooh, that's far out there, but you keep trying to affirm, and you keep trying to X out the how. But my question is, how do you create that feeling, or do you create the feeling that you already have it?
Good question. Great question. And that is why, and this is the thing, a lot of the teachers, I would say besides Abraham Hicks, that's what I've come to the conclusion now. But I mean, there could even be something that even she's hiding. Who knows? But I noticed that a lot of the teachers that teach this, they leave out the fact. Well, they leave out a bunch of things, and that's why I say experimenting is your best thing to do. But the thing is that according to all the teachers, like for example, Napoleon Hill, you've heard of the book Think and Grow Rich, probably. Now. Absolutely. Okay, no. So Think and Grow Rich, that was written back, I think, in the 1920s, but that was a big awakening period for, self-help and higher consciousness and so on. That was a big period back then. And as you can see, the way the world turned out, a lot of the 1%, their ancestors took advantage of that, of what we're talking about right now. They took advantage of that, and that's why the world is the way it is right now. Okay, because they took advantage of creating their own reality and kind of sucked everybody into it, so that when we're born into this, we just go with the flow of what they created. So everybody thinks we need to become successful because that's what we're born into. That's what they've created. That said, that's why I think that Napoleon Hill and a lot of them people left out important things that Abraham Hicks didn't leave out. And what it is that Napoleon Hill went into what's called autosuggestion. Now, you had said a second ago that, and if you get cut off, I'll bring you back on. You had said a second ago about I'm focused on this thing and I feel positive about this thing, but then on this thing I try to stay faithful about it, but I'm not so sure. I get the doubt comes in or whatever. Maybe that's a variation of what you said. So what I notice is that means that you don't believe it, and that's fine. because with the RV thing, I didn't believe it. I just believed it was possible. That was the thing, and that's one of Les Brown's most impactful talks that he gave to me, is that he said, you don't think that way, you just think is possible. Is it possible? And I thought that's easy to do, because you ask yourself, like, okay, I don't have enough money right now to do this or that, but is it possible that I could get more to do this? And you think, well, I don't know how, but I guess it is possible. And then that releases the resistance on that topic, because you're thinking it is possible, but I don't know how to do it, but it is possible. So then what does that do? That makes you start, maybe like I did, going out and finding ways that are possible to get the house, that are possible to do this, that are possible to do that. You start thinking about the ways to do that. So that being, hold on a second. What? Leave me alone. I'm talking right now. Come back later. I'll go over there and sit down. I got my children right here. Go sit down over there. Close the door. Close the door. Lily, close the door. Sorry about that. So you start thinking that it's actually possible to happen. So what you're doing, when in that point, you're releasing the existence. I'm sorry, the resistance. You're releasing the resistance of blocking it. Because what I noticed that happens is that when you really want something, like I said, it gets created, and the natural flow of the universe, the current, is always flowing. Every moment in the current moment, it's always flowing. It never stops. It's just that your focus leaves the current moment and starts focusing on other stuff. So when that happens and you're focusing on other stuff, you start to put resistance in the way of the universe flowing it to you. You know what I'm saying? Like I give you an example with the RV story. If I was thinking, oh man, I got to make enough money to do this, and I started thinking of how I might have done so many things to figure out how I'm going to do it, that I never actually called my best friend, but I just laid back and relaxed. And I also noticed is that when you do this, when you sit back and relax and let things take its course, you open your mind up to the possibility of anything can happen for me to get this. But you don't so much sit back and try to look for how it's going to happen in a way that you're forcing it. You follow what I'm saying? Like it's naturally, it's a flow thing. It's always a flow thing. Even everything, if you think about a lot of things that happen to you in your life right now, the happiest times are when you just flowing. You're not putting effort towards anything. You're just kind of flowing. Like even when, like I said earlier, when I'm talking right now, it's just flowing. The words are just coming. I'm just flowing. It's like I'm not trying to, let me say this word. I'm just like, you know what, however this comes out, whatever, and it just flows. You follow what I'm saying? So that's the time when you know you're in alignment, I guess, with God. That's the best way I can say it. You're in alignment with that. You're in alignment with that current, with that energy. You're in alignment with it. It feels good. If it feels bad, you've gone out of alignment with that. So to answer your question, and what I found is true, is that you don't have to constantly focus on the thing that you're trying to achieve. You keep it in mind, sure, but you don't sit there and focus on it, because when you do that, I think you're adding resistance to it. Because let me bring you back. Well, I'll bring you back on if you hit the button. What happens is, hang on. Oops, 1 second. There it is. Oh, let me hit this. There you go. That's how it works. Okay. So when you focus on, sorry, whoever that else that was, they dropped off. I guess I took too long. Sorry about that. You can, if you come back up now, I'll bring you on. And there was another person that was waiting to come on. I guess I talked him to death. But if you stay in, that's like I said, that's the thing. We go off course of our nature. Our nature is to be happy. That's why it's so easy to be happy. When something's going on that's good, it's easy to be happy. Okay, so it doesn't take effort to be happy. I mean, you can force yourself to be happy, sure, but then you're not really being happy. But it doesn't take effort. It's like you just get into the flow. You flow with the happiness, and then it's almost like nothing can prevent that, unless something happens, of course. But I'm just saying. So you get with the flow. So when you don't focus on the thing that you're looking for, but you just kind of keep yourself in a positive state. I think you asked me did you ask me how do I stay in a positive state? That was your question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The way, and it's funny, that's a very popular question. A lot of people ask me that. The way you stay in a positive state, you have to, well, first, I say this. First, in order for something to happen, you have to believe it. You can't fake yourself believing something, or it's a fake belief, or it won't happen because you don't really believe it. But what you can do is you can plant the belief in your brain. The way you plant the belief in your brain is something Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow. Think and Grow, which he called auto-suggestion. And auto-suggestion is where you plant an idea in your head, is where you plant a belief in your head. The way you believe something, and it's funny because that's the way you believe everything anyway, is that you do it gradually. So let's say you want give me an example. What's something that you really want? I don't know if you feel comfortable saying that, but what's something that you really want that it feels like, wow, I don't see how that's going to happen. I'll give you a quick example. Could be anything.
I'll give you an example. So I want 101 sponsors for my youth program.
Okay. And you want 101 sponsors for your youth program, and it feels like, how is that going to happen? Right? Okay. So you don't believe it'll happen, or you have maybe a feeling that it could happen, which is good. That means you're on track. If you believe, look at it like this. I'll give you a couple of ways to get yourself to actually start to believe that. Ask yourself, this is from Neville Goddard. He's one of my teachers as well. Neville Goddard. Ask yourself, what would it be like if I had 101 sponsors? And focus and concentrate on that thought, meditate on that thought, because when you do that, now law of attraction is going to kick in and you're going to start to attract other thoughts that's going to fill in the details of what does it feel like to have 101 sponsors. What does it feel like? And you don't have to answer now, but I'm just saying, this is just an example. You feel like, what does it feel like? So then you start to bring in details and associated feelings of how awesome it is to have 101 sponsors. Okay. So when you do that, you're just thinking, not that it's happened, but what would it feel like if that happened? So now you start to isolate the feeling, right? You isolate the feeling of what would it be like. Then you look and you say, again, with the Les Brown thing, that's possible that I could do that. That's possible. That's possible. Is it possible that can happen? Say it is possible, but I don't know how. I don't know how that's going to happen. But the thing is that now you have to start adding, this is the Abraham Hicks part. You start adding the little details about the good things about what you want. If you want those sponsors, you say, okay, I want those sponsors, and I want those sponsors because I don't know what the reason that you're getting them is, but you say, I want those sponsors because, well, I'll say this. I want those sponsors because it's a good cause. And if I get those sponsors, or when I get those, well, you can say if I get those sponsors, then this is the positive outcome if I get those sponsors. And when that positive outcome happens, then many people will be affected. And then after that happens, I'll be able to do X, Y, Z. And after I'm able to do X, Y, Z, then can you imagine what would happen if I'll be able to do this and I'll be able to do that? And then, but you have to fill in the blanks, because I don't know the specifics of it, only you do. But you start to fill in the blanks about all of the things that can happen if you got those sponsors. So that when you revisit what she calls a vibration, when you revisit that vibration, when you revisit that thought about the sponsors, you're not going to be feeling that way about it. You're not going to be feeling like, oh, that's so impossible. You're going to kind of go back where you left off. You're going to go back with the possibility of, if I get this, these are the things that can happen. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And
yeah.
It is a good cause. And I've gotten 6, but as far as the meditation is concerned, I was wondering, what is it? Is it some type of resistance going on, or what's, it's for my safe dating and rape prevention course for the youth.
Okay.
So it gives, it prevents them from encountering that. So I know it's a good cause. So I took note of what you said. So did you have a negative thought when you and your wife were trying to manifest the RV or the bigger home? And if so, how did you cancel that out?
I had a little bit of a negative thought, but the negative thought was just because I thought she wasn't really being reasonable of why she didn't want to do that, because it was for her birthday. and she wasn't being reasonable. So that I had, you had the feeling of, damn, well, she's just saying she doesn't want to do that. Why? And I was just thinking, why? But then immediately when I had that, remember this, I gave this earlier. When there's three things that I've begun really to teach about thinking and about thought energy and all that stuff. And that is that you are not your thoughts. I don't know if you heard that earlier. You're not your thoughts. You think your thoughts, you create your thoughts, you observe your thoughts. Okay. So when I started feeling that way that you said, I observed, I'm feeling bad about it. I noticed that, you know what, I'm feeling that way about it. So I had to start looking in the other direction. I started to start saying, okay. And that's what I said earlier. I had to start saying, okay, well, if we don't get this RV to go to Virginia Beach, maybe one day we'll get it to go somewhere else, because it sounds like a really fun thing to do. And I think she'd like it. So maybe we can get it to go somewhere else. So that prompted me to release the resistance right there. And from that point, I started going online and looking for rentals just to say, okay, well, if I don't get it now, I'll get it in the future sometime. So, okay, fine. If we don't get the RV, we'll just go get a hotel. You follow what I'm saying? And that's one of the key things too, is that you have to be okay with where you are no matter what. That's the key to being happy, period. Like, you have to be okay wherever I am right now. I'm fine. It's okay. Wherever I am, no matter what's happening, wherever I am right now, it's okay. Why? Because I'm here. And I have the most power right now. Anyway, when in the current moment is when I have the most power. I have the most power right now because you can't change the past. They say you can change the future or whatever, but that's the great thing. You can change the future, right? You can always change the future the best way you can. You can think. You always think right now. The current moment is everlasting, and you always have the power right now. So when you're okay with where you are, you release the resistance of everything. You release the stress of what has happened, and you release the stress of what you think, because that's the thing. It hasn't happened yet. Whatever you're stressed about the future, it hasn't happened yet. That's the horrible thing with most of us is that we get so stressed about what's going to happen.
Right.
What if this happens? What if that happens? I had to get on my wife sometimes about that. Well, she just doesn't do it much anymore. But in the past, I say that hasn't even happened. Like, why are you worried about that? That's what could happen, but that's not that. You don't even know if that's going to happen or not. So, go ahead.
It's just, I think it may vary a little from person to person, but like for me, it's like all these years of coming up. Even if you go back to your childhood, when you come up with limited beliefs. It's like that stuff embeds in you.
Right.
So then by the time you get old enough to learn that meditation can be a two-way street. If you meditate on the bad, that can happen. But if you meditate on the good, that can happen. So It's like you got to take all those years, unlearn some stuff, and get on the bandwagon. So it could be hard because you could be like, well, I know if this doesn't play out the way that I wanted to, this and that and this and that is going to happen.
And you get caught up in that. Yep. Yes, agreed. 10,000% what you just said. That's exactly, because I grew up with negative beliefs or whatever, or disempowering beliefs, and it happens. But that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, it's amazing when you realize, wait a minute, that doesn't have to happen. I can change this right now. But the thing is to tell somebody that, and this is the problem that I have sometimes with people that I've counseled a lot of people. Man, it's been a lot. That's why I'm doing this right now. That's why I'm building this right now, because I keep getting kudos from people that I have. They're like, man, you should just do that, because man, people tell me, people I didn't even think about were telling me that, like, you're good at that. I'm like, I am actually. So one thing I'll say is that one of the biggest problems that we all have as human beings, we all want things when we want them right now. This is happening and I want it right now. And the thing about it now, within reason, because there are some things we can get right now. Of course, yes, that's true. But some of the things that we want that we can't get right now is the things that trip people up. Okay. So the thing is that once you realize or you understand which I have to understood now, laws of the universe. I call them the rules of reality. Okay. The rules of reality are that there has to be gravity, there has to be space, there has to be time. And the thing about that right there, I just described those things because those are the rules basically. So when something happens, even if something happens right now, it still happens in a time frame. Okay. So when you want something right now and you don't get it right now, you start to say, I guess I'm not going to get it because it didn't happen fast enough for you. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't happen fast enough. So then what happens now? Because it didn't happen right now law of attraction starts to take effect on your thinking, because you say, damn, I didn't get that right now. Then here comes the associated thoughts that are attracted. You're attracting the other thoughts, the details that come with not getting it right now. Now I don't have it right now. Now this sucks. Now that's going to happen. Now, and it's just start attracting. And law of attraction, because it's a law, just like the law of time, it never will let you down. So if you start thinking this is horrible and this is going to be bad, if this doesn't happen, this is going to happen, and you start going downhill spiral. So then when you start doing that, now you start to do what? You start to move in that direction. You start moving in that direction. So your actions start to reflect the fact that I'm not going to get that, and that sucks. So now I got to do this, because now you just cut off the flow. The thing is that you didn't have to lie to yourself and say, yes, I'm going to get it. You have to lie to yourself. You just had to release the tension against the flow of because like I said, you wanted it, it's there. Somewhere in the universe, it's there. Somewhere it's there. And like I said, your imagination is real. Your imagination is as real as the third dimension. It's just in a different dimension, but it's just as real as this dimension. It's just that, and it's funny because you create things in your imagination, and then because things are always manifesting all the time, 24/7. You create things in your imagination, and then you just kind of drive yourself to get to, by your belief, by the way, and by the lack of resisting the flow, you bring that thing into your experience, because you didn't go against it. You just enjoyed the way that things are playing out. You just paid attention and observed with your consciousness. You observed the way things are playing out. And then before you know it, wow, boom, you got what you got. And you're like, and it didn't happen the way that you thought, so because there were so many different ways that it could happen. And instead of not you, but anyone, instead of you focusing on the ways that it could happen, you focused on the ways that it wasn't going to happen. That's what I realized. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. I've gotten in the past, I'm going to say past couple of months, I guess, maybe past couple of weeks, couple of months, I've gotten so many different things that once I started mastering I guess the way to use the laws and things I just said about staying on what Abraham Hicks calls a high flying disc. When you do that, it's like stuff just keeps popping in, and you don't expect it to, but it just does. And you just go, oh, now I get this. Now I got it. Now I got it. And years ago, my wife will tell you, she was just in this room a few minutes ago, but she's busy doing something, but she'll tell you, years ago, I told her, I'm going to master the law of attraction. I said, I got to master this. I'm seeing too much crazy stuff about this. I got to master this. This one, I got to know this one, because this is it's just too crazy. It's just too true. The way the way this happens. So, so that said, you got cut off, by the way. So that said, now I'm at the point where I have mastered the techniques, and I'm trying to teach the techniques, and I'm here to teach people this stuff. Let me thanks for coming on. I'm putting my headset back on. If you tap, I'll bring it back on. But okay, so I hope I helped. I guess throw me some hand claps if that helped you, because I want to see when you get your goal, when you actually achieve your goal. My headset's back on now. Yeah, when you achieve your goal, I'd love to know about it, because you will. Just stay on the high flying disc. Some of the lessons I give about staying on the high flying disc is where whatever it is that makes you happy, and this is how I do it, and this is what I've learned. I'll bring you back on in a second. Whenever I do this, whenever I get myself back on back on the enthusiastic state of mind, state of being, when I get myself back on, because I fall off. I even fell off today because my dog earlier, I had made some, hey, Mr. Julian's here. Hold on, we got to bring Mr. Julian on in a second. But my dog earlier, I made some chicken breasts. You know, I'm a cook. I cook a lot. I made some chicken breasts, and my dog ended up coming on there. I left them near the counter. I have a husky, and I gave her her dinner, and she came up there and actually ate all of them. Came upstairs for a minute to do something, went downstairs. She ate all of them. So, yeah, did my disc hit the basement at that point? Yes. Did my enthusiasm hit the basement? Oh, I was so mad. Okay, but then after a while, I had to pull myself out of that gradually and saying, okay, well, you know what? She's a dog. That's what dogs do. Dogs are scavengers and they're gluttons. So that's what they do. If there's chicken there, animals are pure desire. They actually, by the way, they stay in the flow, in the current. They stay in the current. And they stay in the current and they just desire. And they're actually using the law of attraction for themselves all the time. And they typically usually get whatever they want. Not saying that they don't get abused. Of course they do, but they typically get what they want. So I'm just saying I had to guide once again, from the higher consciousness, looking into the third dimension, as I said, and understanding how I was thinking and feeling. Now I can catch myself and turn it around. And here I am on multiple platforms right now. Here I am spitting the game about this, basically, and I could care less about what she did, because I can always I'm not starving. I can get more food. I can get more food. I'm not, like I said, I'm not starving. It's not a big deal. So Mr. Julian, I'm going to bring on Mr. Julian. Flex Felix, I was looking you up. Hold on, okay, here he comes. All right, I'm going to have to take my headset off again. Great talking to this brother. This brother is very smart. Mr. Julian. Hold on. Hang on. Okay, well, he's on, but I don't hear him. He's there. I hear you there you go. About these miracles and this there you go. So here he is. Let me jump on here real quick and see what's going on. Can y'all hear me? Yeah. Now we can hear you. How are you, brother? How you doing? Man, I'm blessed. Like you said, the day is gonna have its ups and downs. Absolutely. But, got through them. We live to fight another day for tomorrow. For everybody who's gonna wake up tomorrow, you know what I mean? Just get back to the battle and do it again. Yes, sir. So we all been through some stuff today. You know what I'm saying? But one person's challenge is different from somebody else's. But we all definitely are going through something. Yeah. But the thing is about how do people get through it? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say they're trying to create their own miracle, right? And they're thinking abundantly, but they're having a bad day. How would you say they should get through that? If you said if they're thinking abundantly and they're trying to get through a bad day? Yeah, like, this. I see your topic today is about creating your own miracles. Right. What about while you're creating those miracles, you're dealing with devastation? Okay. First, got to go back to, I talked about this earlier, about we're born into this life, and there's abundance in nature. Okay, so meaning that the trees grow. I don't know how late you came, because I've been on here for like 2 hours now, but I talked about it earlier about how nature flows with no effort. The trees grow, the sky, turns from day to night and all that stuff. All the things that go in nature flow without any resistance and flow freely, right? So that's with abundance and with perfection, basically. So we are that. We come from that. We are that, basically. So what it is the difference that with us is that we have free will and focus. So we focus ourselves away from that, which that's when you feel happy. That's when you're with the flow, which is what they call God or source. I call it the current. When we focus ourselves away from that, that's when we feel discourse or lack of enthusiasm or sadness or anger. When we focus ourselves away from that, that's what that feeling is. Our emotions are our sixth sense. So when we feel all that, we're focusing ourselves away from that. So to answer your question, if we're trying to get through shitty surroundings, you know, and we're trying to stay abundant. The thing is the first thing that has to happen, that should happen, is that you have to get the higher consciousness. And the higher consciousness is basically to understand that you are not your thoughts. You create your thoughts, you observe your thoughts, and then finally you control your thoughts. So if you don't think of yourself as like kind of looking at yourself as like third person, looking at you, what's happening to you, you're not really going to be able to notice from a higher perspective. Wait a minute, I'm starting to feel bad because this is happening. I have to turn this around consciously. It's a conscious thing. You turn it around. I just saw, another guest waiting. So you look and you say, okay, I have to turn this around. You do that in a conscious way. You might not do it immediately. I mean, I got mad at my dog. I told you, earlier, and I was hot. But then after you calm down a little bit, I'm able to observe, you know what? And I start reasoning my way gradually back to get back on track with the flow. So one of the things to do as well is to remember that if there's a certain way people act around you that pisses you off or gets you upset or whatever, this is not just you, this is anybody. Is there's a certain way people do that, you have to remember that you develop that reaction as you were coming up through life. You thought, if this person does this, I'm gonna punch him in the face or whatever. You develop that, growing up. You develop that, somewhere through life. So you said, if he does this or this happens, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to react this way. The thing is that right in the now moment, you always have whether you choose to use it or not, you always have the option of being in the present moment and flowing and saying, right now, I'm going to react this way. I'm going to do this. I'm doing that. And then it's also the thing, once you do that, you're going to leave that. Once you change that, basically the way you feel about that consciously, you basically, whenever you have that situation again, you might not respond the same way. You're going to say, oh man, I've been through that. Just like with my mother sometimes, like she's an elderly woman now. And some of the times when she gets down, I have to tell her, listen, nothing that has happened to you, you've dealt with this before. Like this can't hurt you because you've dealt with it before. And then she starts feeling better. But that's in the same line of what I'm talking about. It's like, wait a minute, I'm bigger than this. This isn't this. I'm not going to let this get me. And then you have to literally and consciously turn yourself in the other direction, because it's always a crossroads. When you have the present moment, you have infinite possibilities to do anything with your focus. You can do anything. You can say, I'm going to go left or I'm going to go right. The thing is, you have to have the consciousness where you're looking, like I said, you're looking from the fourth dimension into the third dimension to be able to say, wait a minute, I'm not my life. I'm the consciousness. I'm controlling this, what this person does, or this person that's me is supposed to be. I'm controlling what happens with this person, but you're talking about yourself, obviously, but you're looking from the the fourth dimension through your eyes into the third dimension that we're all in. You're doing that. You're controlling that all the time. But if you don't have the consciousness to do that, then you just kind of get pulled through the third dimension, and you're basically privy to everything that anybody ever does. You're controlled. You're a slave, basically. You have the freedom of being in this moment and being able to maneuver yourself however you want. Did that help? You still there? Oh my goodness. He cut off. I talked so much. Hold on. He was probably started talking and I was still running my mouth. But yeah, that was it. Anyway, he's coming back on. Give him a second. My bad. Okay, there you are. That makes sense?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
John, hey man, I was going for like 10 minutes, John. You took the whole floor and the whole stage. I'm not even mad at you, man. You did a good job, man.
Thank you.
Good job. Listen, I got a question for you. Do you like music? Are you into music at all?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I want to give you an artist. Anybody else can write this down if they want to or whatever, but I want you to kind of listen to this song later on when you get a chance.
Okay.
Because it might resonate with everything you just said.
Okay.
And it's new music. It's not nothing old school, but it has a good feeling and the words is dope. So the name of the artist is LONDRE.
You said LO. You know what? You got my chat on here. Send it to the chat because I'm gonna fuck up the spelling.
Okay, so it's Londrelle.
Okay.
I'm gonna send it to your chat too, but
Okay.
it's Londrell Flow State.
Flow Stick. Okay.
Yeah, Londrell.
Londrell.
And I don't even know how to spell that. DR. Oh, Londrelli. I was saying the wrong damn name. It's been a long day. Londrelli Flow State.
Flow State. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's something like, a lot of times people, when I'm in the gym, I usually listen to like, Lil Baby, more rap music, hip hop.
Right.
But when I'm just meditating or just vibing, this Londrell or Londrelli or whatever his name is, I got Apple Music, so I'll be downloading everybody. I listen to all kind of stuff.
Yeah, me too.
But his type of music is definitely some. When you listen to it, you're gonna chat me back and you're like, you know what? It was different. It's a different vibe to it. It's like even the lyrics in this particular song is about what you were talking about flowing.
Nice,
about
nice.
being in that flow, being in that energy.
Yep.
And a lot of times when you're in that negative energy or negative space, you can't be in that flow.
Right.
That flow is gonna be all messed up. So you gotta kind of stay in that flow to be successful.
Yeah.
For sure.
I agree. Yep. So true. So true. And the thing is so many people aren't conscious of the fact of that. You kind of get led around by the nose in life. You get led around by the nose. You let this person, especially like a lot of young bucks.
I would have responded to it if I was on the chat, but you said it earlier, like a lot of people stuck in the matrix,
Yeah, man.
I
Yep.
was in the matrix myself for a while, and we don't realize, like, I just told somebody earlier, a lot of times people be preaching the black dollar, but we don't even keep the black dollar enough to spend the black dollar with the black companies.
Right.
So, because, we teach our kids consumerism, we don't teach them to sell.
Right.
How many of us teach our kids just to sell? Don't just be buying stuff. They buy stuff every weekend, but they don't know how to sell stuff.
Right.
So we just got to start teaching different habits. And I think that starts with our mind state and, how we're thinking abundantly. Like you said, think abundantly, but to some person, like a Mercedes-Benz might be abundant. To me, maybe an airplane is abundant or something like
Right,
that. Or
right.
a boat. So it probably depends on how the person is thinking. But I challenge everybody to probably just think a little bit bigger than you was thinking last week.
I agree. And that, to add to that, that's the one thing that I say, because you listen to Tariq Nasheed and Jason Black and all them people.
Yeah, I listened to it before.
Okay. One thing now, they're always on point with what the action steps are. But the thing that I always want to ask is to say, what does abundance in the Black community look like? And that's the one thing that I see that it's not enhanced and it's not talked about. Like, what's talked about is what we need to do. You know what I'm saying? Like that, and that's great. Of course, you need to have an action plan, right? Absolutely. However, what does it look like? That's one of the things that got me for a while, to say, if we knew what it looked like, if we could imagine, the scenario I gave earlier about when we want something that's already created in another dimension and we just have to bring it here or flow with it till it gets here and we bring it here. Because like I said, the 1% that controls the world, they did that years ago, decades ago. And now look at the world. Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's very Rothschild. It's a very Rothschild.
Yes.
Bilderberg group.
Yes. But this is the thing.
Kind of world.
We have the same power. Everybody has the same power. You see what I'm saying? Everybody has the same power.
Everybody has the same power. See, this is
Yeah.
where, I do kind of my part and, everybody does their part, but this is where I'm going to be kind of negative, but kind of keep it 100, because if 93 people is listening in here, we got to keep it real. We all got the same power, but how many of these motherfuckers is lazy?
Yeah.
How many motherfuckers is not applying themselves?
Right.
How many people don't have their kids in an after-school program? How many people is not teaching their kids about money? How many people is not telling they partner that they love them?
So many.
Not emotionally, detached from VH1. We all worried about, Housewives of Atlanta, but you don't even own a house. Stop fucking watching Housewives of Atlanta. Sometimes we put ourselves in the matrix and then we complain about the matrix.
True.
Sometimes we complain about cops on, cops shooting black people, but then again, we not talking about when we be shooting each other. You know
Right,
what I'm saying? Like,
right.
And I'm a person, you know, I've been very violent back in the day. There's times where I've been violent before. But then again, there's times where I had growth.
Of
But
course.
if somebody's going to be violent with you, you're going to be violent with them. But that
Right.
also has to do with community. So we're the community leaders. If there's no community leaders stepping up and saying, yo, I got you, I'm going to look out for you, or we can make this happen or do that, it's kind of like, who are the kids listening to? That's a better question.
Right.
They're listening to Lil Baby. They're listening to Young Thugger. They're listening to people on TikTok. They're not on this wisdom, man. That's for sure.
Well, right. And we know that all of that is intentional and is put into play to force what I talked about before, to force belief, because what you just described, that's happening because of belief. They believe this and this and this and that. That's why I say, what does it look like? I haven't asked a lot of people this question. You're probably the first person, and this is the first time I'm really saying it publicly. What does it look like? What does abundance in the Black community look like? What does it look like?
All right, so what it would look like, first off, is having a black bank. Let's just start off with that.
Right.
Black people always talk about money. We don't have black banks. We have black banks, but they're kind of shitty. Like, I'm going to be honest. I got a couple of banks. The best bank I got is Navy Federal. Let's just keep it real.
Right.
So, you know, that's a military, most likely kind of bank. So that's why they got money to be able to give me the credit limits that I desire. So other institutions, like let's say it's a black bank, they're not going to be able to give me those credit limits. But the thing is, we don't power the black dollar into the black community.
Nope, we don't.
So when people ask me questions like this, I usually challenge them and says, when the last time you invested in a black business? I ain't saying you bought something from a black business. That's cheap. You know, that's a cheap tactic. We buy shit from Walmart every day.
Right.
That's a Chinese business.
Right.
So we say we hate China, but everything at Walmart is fucking made from China.
True.
So we can't hate China. We love China. Let's keep it real.
Right.
So at the end of the day, when the last time you invested in a black business? Most of the time people say never. So how the hell are you going to say you want to help the black community if you ain't investing in a black business? That means you're not powering up the black dollar. Let me tell you this, when people support black business, they think it's cool just to come in the store and spend $10 or $15. You're wasting my time with your $15, bro, to be honest.
Right.
That doesn't help expenses.
Well, then there's also the cohesiveness.
When you come buy into the company, we want to buy into every white business, but tell me a black business that people are supporting. Chick-fil-A is a white business. Tell me a black business. You know what I'm saying? Like a black franchise. I'll wait, because everybody will be on here waiting forever. We'll wait for 2 hours for that.
But
it's not out there.
Right.
But why not? Because we're in competition with each other, brother. That's why.
Yeah.
We gotta stop being in so much damn competition with each other.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The thing about it is when we look at each other, it's either one or two things. It's either fearful or competition. You know what I'm saying?
And there's division.
Right there. That's dangerous.
The opposite of what you just said is division. Not competition, but in coalition. Not competition.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know.
What the thing is, the youth not listening to the old heads. The old heads not listening to the youth. That's why people like me who can vibrate on all levels, where I can go to the boardroom, you know, with a suit on, but then I can go to the block with a hat on. I can kind of vibrate on all spectrum.
Right,
but the
right.
thing about it is not everybody can do that. So then again, you have a disconnect in knowledge and in the community.
Yep.
So, you know, most us black people, we don't got money in crypto right now. Why not? We don't got money in NFTs. Why not? We're not doing nothing with the blockchain. Why not?
In my opinion, I think all the things that you just said are true. But what needs to happen as far as, you know, I guess my philosophy and what I see and my experience is that there needs, because think about what I'm about to say. Think about this. Hang on, let me see if you're still on. You got a few. Okay, just making sure you didn't get cut off. Think about this for a second. I think that reality is dictated by what everybody believes in, and belief. I talked about it earlier about auto-suggestion and about how beliefs are placed in your mind, and then it changes it changes the world. Basically, it changes reality. So there's no vehicles. If you notice, there's really no vehicles besides me saying this right now. I mean, there's very few that actually sit and say, believe, what does it look like? And there's nothing to look at. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing to, when we go out into this world right now, what we have to look at as Black people, what we have to look at is doom and gloom. And what everything that you just said, that's what we have to look at. That fosters the belief that this is what it is, this is what is going to continue to be, and there's no hope. Fuck it. I'm just going to do this. So
because we sell out too early. Man.
true. But
As
if
Black people,
we're able to see,
I'm not even gonna talk just to the Black people.
right.
As all people, we sell out too early.
Yes.
You know, and that goes for relationships. That goes for business. You know, there's some businesses that people should have sold it to me at a higher level,
Right.
but they was too thirsty. There's some people that should have sold when I was interested, but they wasn't thirsty enough.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
at the end of the day, sometimes you got to do checks and balances of
Yep.
everything
True.
to see where you at with shit.
True.
And enough times we're not checking ourselves. Like daily, you got to check yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
Did I do this today? Did I do that today? You gotta have a personal checklist. Most people don't have no type of checklist. Don't have nothing going on. They just chilling.
Right.
You know, when I call friends and they say I'm chilling, I usually hang up. They call me back in an hour when they're not chilling. Because I don't got time for motherfuckers just chilling. You better be doing something. You better be trying to get to the bag. You better be working on a project, working on an investment, talking about a stock or a trade or a business. But if you're just chilling, it better be Sunday and the New York Giants better be playing. I'm telling you.
I hear that. That's the Queens in you.
Yeah, I mean, it's New York. I mean, it's just New York. But at the end of the day, it's like, as a people, we just got to stop chilling and want for more.
Absolutely. You just hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head. Yep.
If you don't chase something abundant, you're not going to have nothing abundant.
No.
It's just funny to me that people be wanting a 700 credit score, but they don't take care of their $500 credit limit
Right.
or their $600 credit limit. It's like, yo, how is the people going to trust you with big money if you can't take care of small money?
Yes.
So some kind of, you know, it's funny the other day you brought up Wall Street Trapper, and it's funny because my style is not similar to his, but when I talk to a certain type of people, I break it down kind of very, very urban. So it's like, if the credit card person was a dope man and you robbing them, would he front you some more work?
Right.
He would never give you no more work just based upon the fact that you owe him already, bro. When they hear that, they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, so why is the credit card going to up your limit, though? They're not going to up your limit.
Right.
You got to have your utilization under 10%. When I tell people that, they're like, what do you mean? Listen, if your credit card is $1,000, that really means you got a $100 credit card. If you spend more than $100 on a credit card, you look broke to the people fronting you that money. But people don't understand in life what a front is. They're so busy fronting on Instagram and fronting on their life that they don't understand what the hell going on out here, for real.
Right. Yep. And what you think is going to produce the next, right? Like I said, right now, the current moment, you're creating what's going to happen in the future. What you're looking at right now was already manifested already. It's already here. So you can only change it right now. And you hit the nail on the head. You said that people need to want more. And to want more, there's a lot of people who just don't, most Black people just don't want more. A lot of people do want more, but then the belief, key word, belief is I can't get more because where I'm at or whatever. And that's not true. That's not true. But there's nothing in front of us to basically show that you will it's possible in order for you to actually get something. You know what I'm saying? Something to basically stimulate your belief to make you say, I'm going in this direction. I can do this. Now, if that happens in mass, the big change will happen. I think that, in my opinion, I think that is happening. I think it's happening very slowly, but I think that is happening.
That people are changing?
Yeah, I think that's happening slowly.
Yeah, I can see people are changing. I know people are changing. I'll tell you this. Last year, I went to a festival in Atlanta called the Invest Festival, right?
Right.
There was about 3,500, 4,000 people there. This year, I went to the same festival. It was 12,000 people there. But
So
see,
it was more.
I'm
Right.
The thing about the community, you gotta understand, is even our own community, we get too greedy sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I just told you they just scaled their business from 4,000 people to 12,000, right?
Right.
Now that sounds like a win for them. They make millions. That's good.
Right.
If you just do the math, each ticket was at least $300. So if you bought a VIP ticket, it was $3,000. You bought another ticket, it was $10,000. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you bought a booth, it was $1,500. For the vendors, just say they made about 10 million, right? 8 million, whatever. Let's round it off.
Right.
My thing is the power in the black dollar. It would have been there more prevalent if there would have been more sponsorships in the building from big brands. Number one, because big brands got money to spend. So then, what you would have did with that money from most of the guests, let's just say general admission, and use the VIP tickets to take care of the overhead of business, because ain't nothing free in business. We all want an ROI.
Right.
But I say that to say this. Let's just say $5 million in the black community. Let's put that $5 million and put that towards commercial properties, right?
Right.
Do you know what our buying power would be then?
Absolutely.
Because it would be 10% of that. So at the end of the day, we would be able to buy a lot of shit with that amount of money. But the problem is that money's gonna go to individuals' pockets. There's a lot of people that's balling. Like, for instance, I'm a Michael Jordan fan.
Right.
I never owned a pair of LeBrons in my life, right? But LeBron is a better man than Jordan, though. He builds schools, he helps the community, he do all type of shit. Nobody ever checked Jordan. Like, think about Michael Jordan and what he really stands for. How fucked up is Chicago? Can Michael Jordan fix Chicago? Let me ask you that. You're an older black man, right?
Right.
Can Michael Jordan fix Chicago? Do you think he has any power to fix Chicago?
Do I think he has power to fix it?
Yeah, or help it in any type of aspect.
Well, I mean, help in any type of aspect. You can just donate money as much as you want and whatever. But the thing is that to help it is it's a system. You know, as you know, not to insult you, I'm not insulting your intelligence. But I'm saying, as you know, there's a system that keeps it the way it is. So
yeah, it's a financial system, but the difference is about LeBron and Jordan. LeBron, I'm gonna give you some free game. LeBron is investing in a black man's education.
Right.
Michael Jordan is investing in jails.
Right.
Nah, y'all do the math on that. So he's getting money when y'all rob a motherfucker with some Jordans or do something stupid. He gets paid. See, he's a real hustler. Have you ever watched this Michael Jordan documentary? Pay attention. He even gambles with poor people, yo.
He does what?
On the Michael Jordan TV show on Netflix.
Yeah.
He even gambling with poor people. He's in the locker room and he's gambling with people that have no money. Security guards. He's in there gambling with security guards. So you're talking about somebody who's an addict for money. They even told you on a movie, you know, before one of the championship games, he went to the casino and spent $2 million. You know what I'm saying? So this is an addict. So guess what? He's investing in jails and fucking up the community because he makes money off of that. Right. LeBron is actually building schools in Ohio. Who the hell wants to go to Ohio? People like me who want to buy houses for $30,000.
Well, that's the thing. Things get diverted. But did you notice? And it's funny that I'm saying this now. Like I said, this is the first time I was saying it publicly about belief systems. Did you notice that all those things, as far as the communities go, there's nothing to change a belief. There's little things like you just said, like I'll put up a school, I'll donate to this, I'll go to donate to HSBCU, shit like that. You know, nothing to actually change the belief. But when you look at the media, that's what I think I was getting into that before. When you look at the media is completely, well, you might as well say completely, is completely dedicated to squashing any belief of Black prosperity.
But all right, watch this. What type of entertainment is the average person interested in, right?
Yep.
The average person is interested in violence.
Yeah.
Gore,
yes.
Sex.
Yes.
So the average person, like, for instance, I just gave you a song, right? The average person, they're not going to resonate with that type of music because they probably don't resonate on a higher of a level.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To listen to music that's different like that, you got to resonate higher.
Right.
We could all listen to Bang Bang, Shoot 'Em Up, Lil Baby, you know, Da Baby, whatever. but sometimes you gotta have different vibes for your day. And I think that's what's wrong with people. Everybody, if you wake up vibing off of the craziest music right away, your day's gonna be kind of hectic. But if you wake up and start slow and then get into the vibe, like I said, I listen to hip hop the whole time in the gym,
Right.
and on my way home. And then when I get home, I don't listen to music for probably another like 6 hours because I'm working, grinding.
Yeah.
Then I get back to music, and I chill, then I start to wind down. But average person don't have a schedule or
No,
goals
not
or
at all.
a calendar to
Not at
do
all.
that.
Nope.
So
Not at all.
their vibrations are like off. The first thing you listen to when you wake up is Kevin Gates. Your mind's gonna be thinking like Kevin Gates.
Right.
When he wrote that shit, he was high, he was drunk, he was chilling, and he's expecting you to be the same way when you listening to it. Not, 8 o'clock in the morning, dropping your kids off to school, they listen to Megan Thee Stallion. That ain't gonna work.
Right. Very, very true. So that's important. That's very important. What you just said, very, very important, because I don't know if you've ever heard the expression, energy goes where your focus flows, or where energy goes where your thoughts flow, or whatever. That's true. So if you're vibing off of violent music, violent movies, and you got to remember that all this stuff is put into play. Like I was talked about this earlier, about us being born into this life and having the power to create whatever life we want, but then we're fed, go this way, go this way, go this way, go this way. And because of the social proof, which I got a broadcast coming up called Social Proof is Not the Truth. So you got all the social proof to show you, like violence, like, whatever, like basically like violence, because that's really the thing. Like violence, be fearful. You know what I'm saying? Like all these things are guiding you. That's why I say there's nothing big of significance to guide the belief of Black people to say, I can be prosperous, and I can guide my own life to wherever I want it to go. And there can be Black banks and coalitions between our people. There's nothing that's pushing that belief into people's head. A lot of people we're led to believe, and I was raised as a Christian, but we're led to believe that. You got to look, where did that come from? Where did that come from? Where did that come from? I know I don't go into that talk.
You're probably gonna get 111 followers if I end up doing that. Angel numbers might start popping up in here if I go into that. But what I will say about that, just in case somebody is wondering, all your books been changed. You know what I mean? You're reading the wrong books.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, like, even certain things is a lie, because there's a lot of things that went on in the books that this day and age they're saying is blasphemy, or don't do this or don't do that. But I was talking with a Christian woman on here the other day, and she just couldn't understand what I meant. I was trying to explain to her, like, all right, all the books were changed, but for some reason there was a lot of polygamy going on in the Bible. Now, I'm not saying I'm a polygamist. I just like to challenge people with any type of topic. So if you're telling me, King Solomon and 5 other people have multiple wives, why in this day and age no man is allowed to have multiple wives?
Right.
And she was kind of messed up by the answer. She was like, no, they should just marry the brother only because so the wife wasn't alone. And I'm like, that's what you think it was, bro? Like, you can't be that naive.
Right.
Well, everybody's going to read and interpret their books differently.
Well,
So
go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Right. I just wanted to say that it's amazing. And like I said, I don't like to have that talk with people, because it goes on in circles and spirals. I'm sure you've had that talk, but it's almost like it's intentionally designed to have that spiral talk about that. Why do you believe that? Oh, because of this. And then it goes on and on and on and on and on. And then with the end of the conversation, nobody's mind has really changed. You follow what I'm saying? So it seems like that's, it's done with intention. The same thing when it comes to a lot of racial issues. If 2 Black people's talking about a racial issue and another one disagrees, that's a conversation. I don't know if you ever read Neely Fuller, but it's true.
No, send that to my comment. I gave you a gem with the song. Send me that book.
Okay.
Tell me the name of the book so I can download it.
Okay.
tonight later on.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. But his point. Go ahead. I was gonna say his point is that when that happens, is that the conversation goes on and on and on and on and on, and causes a lot of arguments and whatever. But there's never a solution at the end of that talk.
All right, so I can give you a reason why there's never a solution. And this is why in business, when I teach business experts, I teach them not to be combative or argumentative. And I'm an Aquarius, so I'm very argumentative, but I get on this app to do it for free. But in my business world,
Right.
like today I did 2 deals. I took 2 quarter waters. And by quarter water, what I mean is I'll take a quarter of somebody else's business and I give a quarter of one of my businesses. But there's a reason I did that. Dude got a good business, and my other business is not really there yet. But I think he's worth a quarter as an asset. He thinks I'm worth a quarter. So we value the business as similar.
Right.
But the problem is we always got to be in negotiations. Only person we don't negotiate is with ourselves.
Right.
And I learned that from Kobe Bryant. If you read the Kobe Bryant book, and if you don't got it, I can send it to you in PDF. So you don't got to pay for it now. We don't pay for books around it.
Okay.
I know you're a little old school. We don't pay for books. We download them digitally. But
no, that's what I do. I'm fully digital, man. I'm a nerd. I'm a super nerd about that.
We're not carrying no books around, no library no more.
Right.
But what he says in the book, Kobe Bryant, he says when you make a deal with yourself, you never change that deal. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I've made deals with myself, and I haven't compromised on those deals. And I think some people in here are probably compromising with themselves. They're compromising with their baby daddy. They're compromising with whoever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you compromise, then you're going to take it out. You can't compromise nothing.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, there you go. And then there's no clarity at the end. I'm hearing an echo. Maybe I'm hearing your phone ricochet back into my speaker. Maybe that's what it is. That's weird. Let me hold you over here. You hear that echo? Mr. Julian, do you hear that echo? Oh, it went away. Yeah, it was my. I heard it.
My AirPods died, and I can't find the other AirPods.
Got you.
But I'm gonna throw them in the charger. But yeah, man. I see my time is about to be done, but John, man, it's always a pleasure, man.
Absolutely.
Like, talking to you is like a little different because we vibrate different.
Right.
We can talk about everything without getting our feelings.
Right.
What I want to tell the last people who's here tonight is like, man, don't get in your feelings, man. Stay out your feelings. There's no money in your feelings.
True.
Like, if you get in your feelings in business or whatever, you're going to lose the deal. And when I was young, I was hella emotional with business. That's not going to get you no contracts.
Real rap.
We need more withdrawals, less deposits in our community. Like I was saying earlier, we got to keep the money, right? But like you were saying, how are we going to do it? The number one way, I would say, if anybody listening for real, is deposits, not withdrawals. And then when deposits, don't leave it in the bank. The bank is making money off your money. Buy stocks. Everybody like, what stock to buy? You got an Apple phone, buy a damn Apple. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You go to Home Depot every week, buy Home Depot. Buy the shit that you fuck with. You know what I mean? But I'm probably gonna start a room in a minute, man. Jump in there if you got some free time.
All right. I think we're gonna build something, man. Me and you think we're gonna build something.
Yeah, we might even have to have our own show one of these days, man.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
keep me posted, man. John, bless up. Jump in my room later if you got time.
All right, we'll do. And I'm about to bring you back changed up. I see you still on there. Oh, she's counting down. It's counting down. Oh, she's still there. She might have fell asleep.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, okay, you're still there. I figured sometimes you push the button and fall asleep because it's getting late.
What was that?
I said I didn't know if you pushed the button and fell asleep because it's getting late. It's 12 o'clock where I am.
No. But I was gonna say, I was just saying that thank you for that, because I have manifested some great things in my life, and at the same token, I've manifested some not so great things.
Right.
So I'm so much better in meditation, affirmation, getting the the desires that I want than I was, when I was in my early 20s.
Right.
But I wanted to say thank you for that, and I will let you know when my sponsorship goal is met. I live for the testimony, honey. So
There you go.
I'll be back to let you know that.
Definitely.
I'm also going to go back and re-listen to Abraham Hicks 17 Seconds thing. So
Okay.
it's levels to this stuff, as you
Absolutely.
know. But thank you for all your wisdom on tonight, man. I appreciate you.
Oh, I'm glad to give it, and I'm going to be giving a lot more, because it's one of those things where like I'm in the flow. When I'm doing this, I'm in the flow, and that says a lot. That says it says volumes. Is that's what I'm supposed to be doing, So it's working out. Matter of fact, it's working out for me right now. So it's great, and it's great to hear a person like you, especially, to give me validation. And I'm getting more and more as I'm going along. So yeah, this is going to expand. This is continuously expanding. And yes, check out Abraham Hicks's stuff, but really not just her, other teachers as well. I studied many, and from that I'm developing my own, and I'm able to spin it around and kick it out to people that, I guess to my people, and say that. I guess I'll say it that way, and still, so you can hear it in the truth in a better way. So that's it.
Absolutely.
That's it.
And I told you that book, The Game of Life, but if you ever get a chance, check out, it's a book called The Interview by the Devil. The Interview with the Devil.
Yeah, Napoleon Hill.
With the Devil.
Napoleon Hill.
Man, you read that book?
Yeah, recently, like a month ago, like a month and a half ago. This is an audio book. My friend sent it to me. He said you got to hear this.
Yeah, man, it'll blow your mind. And the reason why I brought that up is because when you gave the example about your RV and your place or whatnot, your bigger home, you mentioned your wife. And in that book, he states that one of the best masterminds on the land of the planet is husband and wife team.
Yep.
So that just further goes to show and prove that. But me and my husband, man, we be manifesting some stuff. But I don't know if it's just because women are built differently than men, but kind of like your wife, I can empathize with her, because sometimes I can be freaking out depending on what it is that I'm waiting on. And my husband be like, it's cool. We got this. Cool. God got us. It's going to come through. This is going to happen. So then I get myself back on track. And that's why I think the book points out married people with the masterminds, but also even if you just have accountability buddy, like how you were saying, you will make it. Sometimes people need to hear that, because some people are putting in the work. Tyler Perry, he took his whole savings, became homeless. Every time he get a new job to pay the bills, that's reality, right?
Right.
What happened? The boss was like, you can't go to the play. You can't take this off. You just started. Well, he was putting in work, and he thought he would, sell out the whole arena. Only 30 people would show up.
Right.
But out of them people, one investor in that audience, was there and invested in his stuff. So there are people doing the work, and there's people that's not. But I think what I'm getting from you is to try to set your goal, to not to focus on the how, and just dig your dishes, and whatever you expect, and prepare for it. And that's what I'm getting from your talk tonight.
Right. It's very true. And I have two things to say. The first thing is that there's something called the Kabbalion. That's one of the books I studied as well. You can find it on it's about ancient Egyptian spirituality. And it's really where Napoleon Hill and Abraham Hicks is really where they got the basis of their lessons from. But it's ancient Egyptian spirituality. And one of the things that they discuss in the Kabbalion is what you just talked about. You said, like me and my wife, is male and female energy. They say there's male and female energy all throughout the universe and makes up the universe. And one needs the other. And it has nothing to do with sex. It's just a type of energy. It's just the male and female energy. That's why we come together, we create children and so on. I mean, that's part of the laws of what I was talking about the rules of reality, or the natural laws, like the law of attraction. male and female energy, that's part of the law, basically. So what you said, I'm co-signing that, saying that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. That's part of the law. So you see what's happening as we're going, people are going against the law of that. I'm just saying. Now that said, and that's not to insult anybody, but I'm just saying that's, from what I understand, that's natural law. Now, the other thing, what are you saying? You said something about Tyler Perry, that story that he did. Well, the thing is I was talking about earlier about with the flow, and like you know, about staying with the flow. When all those things happened to him, I never heard that story, by the way. You're telling me something new. I never knew Tyler Perry's story. But when all those things happened to him, you got to think about the flow. He continued to go with the flow. You follow what I'm saying? One of the affirmations that I do every day is that I write down, savor the journey, because you don't know how it's going to happen, but you have to be paying attention to how you're enjoying the moment as everything transpires, because the thing that happened with Tyler Perry, it didn't happen to him exactly how he thought. I guarantee it. So you have to just savor the journey and say, okay, if it does, even you literally have to say, even if this doesn't happen, I'm fine. And that's what I've been doing. And then all of a sudden, when you do that, you let it go, but you continue to stay on the flow of happiness, I guess. And then all of a sudden, things start just popping, and it just continues. It just continues.
Yeah, that's that part, letting it go. But yeah, if you get a chance, his story is incredible. He spent $12,000 was what he got back on his tax return, and he put all of that. He had to pay the actors, arena, so forth, and he he became homeless. And
Yeah.
that last show, he was getting ready to throw in the towel. He was just like, you know what, forget it, God. You told me to do this. This ain't happening. All of a sudden, he said God told him to shut up, and I'll bless you, and something like that. But
Right.
all of a sudden, the line was wrapped around the building, and Steve Harvey, he didn't have enough money to get to, was it New York for the Showtime at the Apollo? And he said, let me call the guy back, because they wanted him to come on. And it was like, maybe he said it'll be next week and I can hustle up some money. Nah, they wanted him that week. And all of a sudden, he got called at a local club, and they wanted him to come back because he was so funny. And bam, he made the money for the airplane, and then, everything starts on hold. He just wanted to tell jokes. So all of a sudden, he gets a radio station to host. He writes a book, so now he's an author. He got Family Feud, so now he's a show host. And all these things started happening, and I'm pretty sure it's so easy to stay in flow when things are going on the up and up.
Right.
You said that earlier, but then it's that groundwork time.
Well,
before you actually see it or got the inkling that it's gonna happen, that's the part that a lot of people that you can get stuck in.
That's the thing, and it's you know what? It just takes some training. I'm putting together, like I told you, I'm putting together my courses and stuff right now, but it takes training. It takes a little training. It really is. It's just a subtle nudging to go in the other direction. And also you have to keep reminding, you have to be observing your thoughts and observing what's going on, because when I say savor the journey, one of the other things I've said that I continue to say is that don't get caught up in the current manifestation that's in front of you, because remember what I said earlier, your current consciousness is in the present moment forever, basically. And you're what you're doing is you're looking out at what has already manifested. So when you look at what has already manifested with your current consciousness, and knowing that the current moment is the only moment that you can control, that tells you, if you really believe that, you have to, convince yourself of that, because that's what I see. That's the truth. Once you can convince yourself of that, then when something happens right in front of you, you realize this is something that's already the past. This is the past that I'm looking at right now. This is the past. I'm looking at the past from the present. You're always looking from the present, right? But you're looking at the past in front of you all the time to transpire. So the thing is that if in the present, you can begin to guide yourself towards, I don't want this that's in front of me, and I'm not going to be affected by this that's in front of me. I'm only going to use it as a springboard to send myself to where I want to go. When you start doing that, that's when you really notice the power. But it takes time for you to you can be impatient as the time transpires, but that's the thing. You got to get. That's why I say you got to savor the journey, because you're changing it right now. Right now, as we're talking right now, the things are changing for the future for you and I right now. Like with the was it donations or pledges or whatever you needed or whatever, the sponsorships, that's changing right now. Like, you know, the sponsors are there right now. And that's what, when we were talking about Tyler Perry a second ago, all that stuff that you had said happened for him, that was in, according to Abraham Hicks, that was in his vortex. And according to me, that was somewhere in the universe already. But it's just that he had to guide himself to actually get it. It had to go through the laws, the rules of reality. It had to go through the natural laws of this three-dimensional world. It had to go through that in order for it to come to him. But it did come, and it will come. It's just that you gotta, like you said, putting in the ground in the groundwork, keep yourself enthusiastic as you're doing it. That's all.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, like I said, we on here, so I'll make sure that I chat you or on your show. I'll let you know, because you're right. It's going to happen. We appreciate you.
Thank you, and much blessings to you and your husband. And send me it in chat. A couple of the references that you made, or the books and stuff. Just send me in chat.
Okay, absolutely.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right. Talk to you soon.
All right.
All right. Awesome. All right. Let me put my headset back on so my my volume will be a little bit better. And this is, by the way, this is my first time getting on either platform. Well, my first time on the other multiple platforms doing this, but this is my first time getting on Wisdom on a Friday night. I'm usually, doing other things on a Friday night. But I had a long day. I did a bunch of things today, things with my children, and I had a great day. Thank you, Empress Q, for following. But yeah, I had a long day and I had a great day. And I noticed the more and more I start to learn and understand about creating my own miracles and using the law of attraction and manifesting things in a positive way, the more I notice that the more I do this, the more I notice at the end of the day, right before I'm turning into bed, I'm saying to myself, I'm saying to myself authentically and sincerely, wow, another great day. I had another good day today. And I have to say the same thing about today. I had some adversities today. I think my dog eating my 4 chicken breasts that I seasoned to put them in the oven and all that, I think that was the worst part of the day, because I punished my dog. I popped her a few times for doing that. But that's the thing, like I said. And then of course I apologized. I petted her. I said, I know, and I changed my mind and all that kind of stuff, because I love my husky. But my point is that at the end of the day, it was a great day. I appreciate everybody who came on that I talked to tonight. This is, for me, this is historic for the John Busy brand, I guess, that I'm building here. And, I know that I'm building great things that are going to come. And this is the beginning of a lot of great things. So again, I appreciate everyone who came on. I'm about to sign off. I don't have a set schedule yet on when I come on. What I'm usually doing, if anybody doesn't know, I'm usually in a big rig driving, and I just pop on. I see Wisdom and I pop on, and then I get on talks, and I have talks on there, and I'm kind of building my voice and fine tuning myself in this, because I expect to go on, and I'm aspiring to go on and talk to crowds of people and build informational things to help people out to understand that when you can make yourself believe something, and you can get yourself to believe something or change the way you think, you're going to change everything in your life for the better. But you just have to know how to do that. And we're not really taught that. We're especially not taught that in our community, but I really want to change that, and I'm happy to change that. But that's the thing. We all have psychology. It's a psychological thing, but it's also a spiritual thing. And constantly remember what I said earlier. We're in the 4th dimension, but we're looking out into the 3rd dimension, and we can control all that. So that said, if anybody is still there, not just one person, please show me some hand claps, because it's going to support me and can make me continue to go on and on and on and on and make better content. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. And I'll see you soon.